National Football League. Today, from Jack Murphy Stadium, it's the Denver Broncos versus the San Diego Chargers. Brought to you by Bud Light. Everything else is just a light. By Chrysler Motors and its automotive divisions, working together to be the best. And by Harris Corporation and their Lanier Business Product Divisions. Lanier, we're easy to use.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is Charlie Jones along with Jimmy Cefalo. You're looking at two of the outstanding quarterbacks in the National Football League. On the left, John Elway of the Denver Broncos in his 4th year. And on the right, Dan Fouts, and his numbers represent the years. This is his 14th year in the National Football League. And, of course, Elway off to a tremendous start, and Dan Fouts off to a very shaky start. He is ranked, Jimmy, 23rd in the National Football League as far as the passing statistics are concerned, and that's way, way down for Dan Fouts.
It is. It's very uncharacteristic for Dan Fouts, and it's going to be up to Denver's defense to try to continue that from happening. The problem with the San Diego's woes offensively is that you never know when they're going to explode. And for the Denver Bronco fans, that could happen at any moment.
Elway working on his knee brace. The Broncos won the toss, and they will be receiving to our left. The temperature is 69 degrees. The winds out of the south-southwest at 10 to 18 miles an hour. Beautiful afternoon in Southern California. Don Coryell, the head coach of the San Diego Chargers, that intense look in his eyes. He shaves with that intense look in his eyes. That's the way Don is. Gene Lang and Ken Bell will be the deep backs as you look to Dan Reeves, the head coach of the Denver Broncos. Last week celebrating his 50th victory as the head coach. He got a game ball. So today he goes for number 51. Ralph Mojico will be kicking off for San Diego. And we're underway. Ken Bell on the return out to the 15 and touchdown at the 17-yard line. Bell then kept going. He fooled everybody. They're going to mark it back, though, where he went down at the 17. Here's the offense with Elway at quarterback, Winder and Wilhite the running backs. Sampson, Watson, and Kay are your receivers. And an offensive line of Studdard, Bishop, Bryan, Howard, and Lanier. And Denver will go to work at the 17-yard line, first down. And Elway comes out throwing. He sends 5 on the pattern over the middle to the tight end, Clarence Kay. And he pulls it in at the 21 of the 22-yard line where Gary Plummer brings him down. Defensively, Lee Williams, Chuck Ian, and Leslie O'Neal, the rookie, the #1 draft choice of San Diego. Billy Ray Smith coming back off of that ankle injury. The Plummer, Benson, and Fred Robinson, the 4 linebackers for the Chargers. And at secondary, the big change in the secondary is Kenny Taylor replacing Wayne Davis at left corner. Donald Brown, the rookie, on the other side with Jeffrey Dale and Gil Bird as the safeties. They spotted it out to the 23-yard line, so it is 2nd down and 4. You saw Sewell in motion, and Winder gets the call. 3 more to the 26. It'll be 3rd down and a yard as Ian and Fred Robinson make the stop.
The Broncos coming into the season, they wanted to try and establish a running attack, and they've done that so far. When you look at the Broncos a year ago, they were missing that one little element that just didn't get them into the playoffs. It happened to be a lack of a running attack. This year, they've established one with Winder and with Gerald Wilhite.
3rd down and 1. We're just a minute and a half into the ball game with no score. And we show the I formation. Sewell comes in motion. He becomes the lead blocker, and Winder gets the call. Needing only a yard, it looks as if he picks it up, taking Billy Ray Smith with it. First down for Denver. At the Broncos' 28-yard line.
Lee Williams was the defensive end, of course, on that play. They're coming straight at him on this particular down. Let's take a look at him isolated, moving him out. A good block from the inside, and the ball carrier diving over for the first down. Running at Lee Williams, not usually a good idea from the USFL coming in this season, very strong at the point of attack.
Elway throwing on first down again. He fires far side, and it is incomplete. Winder had it in his hand, and then he drops it. And it'll go as an incomplete pass. So bring it back to the 28-yard line. And it's going to be second down and 10. Dan Reeves and the undefeated Denver Broncos, they along with Chicago and Washington, starting this weekend as the only undefeated team. Second and 10. Sewell in motion, the handoff inside to Steve Sewell. And Sewell is stopped at the line of scrimmage. His momentum may give him a yard. And it was Lee Williams, who has a total this year, by the way, of 5.5 sacks, ranking second to Jones of the Broncos. Let's take another look.
Now here's Lee Williams, 99, top part of your screen. He gets fooled initially. He's going the other way because the play is coming back. It's a little bit of a deception, but he recovers in good enough time to come over and make the tackle, and that's a sign of a good football player. You get fooled initially, but if you react and come back and make the play, you're going to stay in this league for a long time.
Spotted again at the 28, so it is third down and 10. The Broncos converting 1 of 1 previous third down opportunities. Elway from the shotgun. Has lots of time. He goes deep, has a man there, and it is knocked away. Watson, the intended receiver, and Kenny Taylor picked him up on the cover.
And a nice play by Kenny Taylor. There you saw the strong arm of John Elway. He has those happy feet, though. He bounced around in the pocket for a while, but you saw the strength of his arm. Threw it a long way. A nice play by Taylor over the top.
Kenny Taylor drawing the starting assignment with the Chicago Bears last year, and signing with San Diego as a free agent and replacing the beleaguered Wayne Davis at the corner spot. And here's Jack Wheel. Kicking to Lionel James. James leading the Chargers in all-purpose yardage with a total of 646 yards. Punt returns as here. Kickoff returns, receiving and rushing. Not that good a kick. It hangs up. That will go out of bounds. The Chargers were starting with excellent field position. Only 20 yards on the kick by Jack Wheel. And San Diego will go to work at the Denver 47-yard line. We'd like to welcome those of you that have been watching the Buffalo-Miami game here in San Diego. The score, the Denver Broncos nothing, the Chargers nothing. San Diego's first opportunity on offense. And we've got a flag on the play as Fouts opens up, going deep, and it is caught. He goes to West Chandler. He has it at the 7-yard line. 41 yards at the play stands up. And he had just half a step on Mike Harden. Now the jumping on the flag looked as if the Broncos were in the neutral zone. Offside, Denver, it will be refused. First down and goal to go.
Now this is a smart play by Fouts. He knew he had a freebie in here. They've been criticized all season long about not being able to go to a deep receiver, but there Fouts shows there's absolutely nothing wrong with his arm as Wes Chandler gets open for a big play.
It'll be first down and goal to go just inside the 7-yard line. They have said that Fouts has a sore shoulder. I asked him about it yesterday. He said, that's right, but it's the left shoulder, and I'm right-handed. First down, goal to go, 7-yard line. Kellen Winslow showing motion. Fouts to throw again, and he fires tipped away in the end zone. He was going to Trumaine Johnson, Ricky Hundley, and Mike Harden were there for the defense. Here's the offense. Fouts with Spencer at fullback. He's had injury problems. Anderson, Chandler, Joyner, the great receiver, and Kellen Winslow at tight end. That offensive line, Lachey, Clapham. Clapham is not starting. It's Jim Leonard in there. Masick, McKnight, and Kowalski. Second down, goal to go, 7-yard line. Fouts drops this one off to Anderson. He's got a touchdown, San Diego. 7 yards. Quick strike of San Diego. And this is what the Broncos were concerned about. When would San Diego explode as they did in the opener against Miami? Well, they did it right here.
They did, and he's a dangerous player. Gary Anderson may be the most exciting football player in the league. Fouts, you have to give him so much credit. He showed his experience on that 41-yard play. He knew he had a freebie. Maybe they weren't going to Chandler at all, but when he saw there was going to be a penalty against the Broncos, he goes deep, comes back down, and now hits Chandler for the touchdown.
And Ralph Benerska will attempt the extra point. And it is good. And San Diego moves out in front by a score of 7-0. And we have 11 minutes and 9 seconds as the time remaining in the first quarter. The Chargers with the first score of this ball game.
There seemed to be some kind of a breakdown on that last particular play. There was a freebie, absolute freebie for San Diego. No one was around Anderson whatsoever.
The Jets in New England. Jets now on top 31-24. Dallas, Washington is going to fall from the undefeated ranks. And then there were two. Miami defeating Buffalo. That's a final 27-14. These, of course, are the early games. Chicago looks as if they will remain undefeated. They lead Houston by 10. And a couple of finals. Atlanta, boy, the Falcons are to be reckoned with. The Rams with their problems. And Cleveland defeats Kansas City by a score of 20-7. So that means that the Chiefs' record is now 3-3 in the West. Detroit defeating Green Bay, fourth quarter. New Orleans by 3 over Indianapolis, and St. Louis in front of Tampa. No, that's a final. St. Louis 30 and Tampa Bay trailing them. And these games just underway, and Minnesota in front of the 49ers 7-0, as is the score here, with San Diego in front by a score of 7-0. 47 yards on the touchdown drive in 3 plays. It took a total of 37 seconds off of the clock, and Gene Lang takes the kickoff at the 6, crosses the 10, he's to the 15, and is down at the 22-yard line. So Denver will have their second opportunity as Vincey Glenn makes the tackle on the specialty teams for the Chargers to move on offense for the Broncos, now trailing 7-0. What does this do to you when you get a quick score against them?
Well,
and you're the favorite.
Yeah, but for the Broncos, it's not going to affect them at all. You come out, you have to realize you're going to be behind in a couple of football games, and to expect to shut out the San Diego Chargers, regardless of the last 3 or 4 weeks, is really not realistic. So I don't think John Elway is particularly worried at this point in the game.
Denver from their own 22-yard line. Sewell in motion. Sammy Winder has 5 yards to the 27. Jeff Dale makes the tackle. It'll be second down and 5.
The Broncos have been making it work both with the run and the pass this year. Winder thus far in the past 4 weeks, he's averaged 80 yards per game, and that's, for a Bronco running back, is quite effective. Combine that with the fact that John Elway is the 3rd-rated quarterback in the NFL these days, and you've got a really fine offense.
The score by San Diego is the first touchdown that Denver has allowed in the first quarter of their last 4 ball games. The first score of any kind that they have allowed in the first period. Elway to Watson, and Watson has the first down as he moves to the 35-yard line. He needed 5, and he got 8. And Donald Brown had the coverage for San Diego.
Well, that's what Steve Watson is. He's kind of a jack of all trades for the Broncos. I recall when he was just a little skinny kid out of Temple back in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. He came up as a free agent and has done just about everything.
A little technical problem with your mic, Jim, so we'll change mics here. Winder, the remaining back here. First down for Denver at their own 35-yard line. San Diego, by the way, has outscored their opponents in the first quarter, now by a score of 51-6. So the first quarter been very productive as Winder picks up 3 on the play to the 38. And it's 2nd and 7. Gary Plummer with the stop for San Diego. So the Chargers starting strong always this season. But their disaster area has been the second half. And, of course, we'll find out what happens to them today. Second down and 7. Right now we have 9 minutes and 45 seconds left to go first quarter. And San Diego is leading Denver by a score of 7-0. Broncos at their own 38-yard line. Elway to throw. Looks out, and he throws across the middle to Watson, who was coming back inside. Kenny Taylor again with the coverage, and it's 3rd down and 7 at the 38-yard line. So thus far, the defense of San Diego has pretty well closed down the offense of the Denver Broncos. Let's take another look at that last pass. Problem, and that is that we have, even with a new microphone, we've got problems, so we'll have to change Jimmy Cefalo's mic. We've got a flag on the play, and they will stop this. So quickly we will go to work and see if we can get you the technical difficulties fixed so we can hear you. Because you have great things to say. We'd like to share them with our audience. Gene Barth, the referee.
Number 76 offense.
Ken Lanier called him the false start. The baseball score in the bottom of the fourth. It's Boston 2 and the Angels 1. That score just coming in. The ball going back to the 33-yard line, where it's 3rd down and 12. Steve Watson goes wide to the far side. Clint Sampson is wide to the near side. And we show a slot on the left side and Elway from the shotgun. And the Chargers in the neutral zone. So a free play for the Broncos. Elway goes deep. Here's Watson all alone. He's got it inside the 30, the 25, and down at the 20-yard line. 47 yards for the Denver Broncos. And a defensive lap for the Chargers as Gilbert and Donald Brown let the receiver get away.
And Donald Brown had all kinds of problems on that particular play. Turned completely around by Watson. And again, you saw the strength of John Elway's arm. He likes to move around in the pocket. He does better when he's able to move. But here he knew exactly where he wanted to go. It looks like he had his eyes on Watson the entire time. Look at 32. That's Brown. He's 10 yards away. Watson completely had him turned around. And actually, Elway threw the ball completely across the field. If he had a little bit more on the ball, I know it's a lot to ask from that position, and probably no other quarterback in the league would be able to throw that football. But if he had a little bit more on the ball, Watson would have been in the end zone.
3 of 6 for Elway for 60 yards, and the ball at the 21-yard line of San Diego. 1st down and 10. With Wilhite and Winder now the 2 running backs. Little play action fake on 1st down. Trying to just a short timing pattern to Clarence Kay, the tight end who was looking over his left shoulder. Elway saw an opening right to the right side. We got a pushing and shoving contest going on. Seems to me the state of the art in the NFL this year. And he was looking for an open spot, hoping that Kay could just run under it. 2nd and 10.
And he kind of got off a little bit of a dangerous pass. He floated it along, but he was fortunate because he got out of bounds. Kay really was not open unless he was able to drill the football in between a couple of linebackers.
8 minutes, 26 seconds. That is the time remaining in the 1st quarter. San Diego out in front of Denver by a score of 7-0. A very short kick by Jack Wheel of only some 20 yards. Set it up, and the drive took 47 yards in 3 plays. Fouts to Anderson for the touchdown. The Broncos coming right back. Vance Johnson is into that offensive set on the right side. Just activated this week. And the pass is incomplete to Wilhite. Wilhite had his hands on it. Did not have possession. And Gary Plummer was there for the defense. So now it is 3rd down and 10 at the Chargers' 21-yard line.
And it's a nice play by Plummer. There you see Wilhite in the screen. And, now, what they were trying to do was try to force Plummer to go around all of the action. You had Vance Johnson going to the inside. He made a nice play by coming around, at least being there. Wilhite has to come up with that football, though. But even if he did, Plummer was there in order to keep the gain to a short one.
3rd down and 10. Within the field goal range of Rich Carlos. Elway from the shotgun. And the Chargers jump in the neutral zone. Elway steps away. Goes into the end zone, and it is intercepted in the end zone, but the Chargers were in the neutral zone on the flag. Vincey Glenn has the interception. I do not believe it will stand up. Mark Jackson, the intended receiver.
And it was an obvious jump by the Chargers. At least it seemed so from up here. And Elway probably thought he had a free play. So the throw was not as dangerous as it seemed.
Defense, number 99, offside. 5-yard penalty will replay the down.
Lee Williams offside. Now, do not think because that Lee Williams nullified the interception, because the interception would not have happened because Elway knew that he had to play a free play because he had a penalty waiting on him. He wouldn't have thrown it that way.
No, there's no danger whatsoever. He simply throws a ball where he thinks he might be able to fit it in. A play probably he would have held it back had he not known that he had the offsides penalty.
So with the penalty, the ball goes to the 16, and it's 3rd down and 5. Elway just drops this one off to Wilhite, and he's got the first down, upended at the 6, and comes down at the 4, and it will be 1st down and goal to go, picking up 12 yards on the play as the rookie out of Indiana State, Vincey Glenn, upended him. In the 4th quarter, the Jets leading New England. Dallas winning, so Washington, that is their first loss. Miami winning. Buffalo continues to lose. They're struggling. Chicago winning, and they will continue to be undefeated. Atlanta winning, and Cleveland defeating Kansas City 20-7. And we have the referee stopping the clock, and now he winds it with Winder and Wilhite in the I formation. Jackson is off on the right side. No, he's on the right side. No, that's Sewell. Sewell showing motion. Give his inside to Wilhite, and he dives to the 1-yard line. So it's going to be 2nd down and goal to go. Let's go back to the scores. With the ball at the 1-yard line, it is Detroit defeating Green Bay. Green Bay really struggling this year. New Orleans by 3 over Indianapolis in the 4th quarter, and St. Louis downing Tampa Bay. In the late games, those just starting along with Ayers, no score in the Philadelphia Giants or Seattle Raiders, and Minnesota and the 49ers are tied 7-7. And here the Chargers lead 7-0, but the Denver Broncos threatening to tie it up. 2nd down, goal to go at the 1-yard line. And into the end zone is Sammy Winder. Winder with his 5th touchdown on this season, scoring from a yard out.
That time the pile was packed in there very tight. Usually a running back would just close his eyes and try to move the pile. That time he opened him up and saw it, the hole to the left, and slipped right around the corner. Now take a look at him here. This pile's up right in the middle of the field. And usually that running back would just put the head down and run right into his, whoops, I'll go over this side. They saw the lead blocker, I believe. That was maybe Gene Lang, who was jumping over the top to try and make that the play look like a dive, a quick hitter.
And Rich Carlos now for the tie, with Gary Kubiak holding and Keith Bishop the snapper. And it is good. So Denver and San Diego are now tied at 7-7. And for the Denver Broncos, they put together a 78-yard touchdown drive, and a very impressive 78-yard touchdown drive, as Elway certainly continues this afternoon with the magic that he's had throughout this season.
You see the strength of his arm on that play to Watson. He threw completely across the field from the other angle, which is a pass that quarterbacks are not supposed to be able to complete, but he does it consistently. He's done it all year that way, too. You also notice some of his running ability. I have a feeling that maybe Dan Reeves and some of the Bronco coaches probably have said to him, try and not scramble as much, because he's going to shorten his career. One of these days, he's going to take off downfield, and someone is going to injure John Elway, because he's not one of the quarterbacks on every occasion, at least, who will simply dive to the ground. Last week, he took on John Dutton of the Dallas Cowboys and got the better of it, believe it or not.
Yes, but the interesting thing is everyone feels that he throws better when he is scrambling rather than sitting in the pocket. So it's kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation.
Yeah, well, it's fine if you want to scramble around and pick out a receiver, because you're right. Steve Watson has said that he likes when John Elway scrambles around. But throw the football. Don't tuck it and run and get yourself hurt. And that's what probably the Denver Broncos coaching staff has said. It's fine to move around back there, buy some time and get rid of the football, but do not hurt yourself, please.
And Denver now kicking off to San Diego. And the ball taken at the 7-yard line by Lionel James. And Little Train returns it out to the 27-yard line. So San Diego with an opportunity to move on offense. Daniel Hunter of the special teams for the Denver Broncos, a 78-yard drive in 10 plays. And it took the Broncos 4 minutes and 22 seconds to score the tying touchdown. They're going to spot the ball at the San Diego 26-yard line. Now, the Chargers came out throwing deep immediately. Let's see if they stay with that mode, as that's what a lot of people think that they are going to do today, is just to air out the playbook and show it all. And Fouts drops this one off underneath to Lionel James. James runs for the first down to the 38-yard line. A gain of 12 yards on the play. Carl Mecklenburg makes the tackle. Let's look at that Denver defense. It is a tough one. Rulon Jones, Greg Cragen, and Andre Townsend, the front three. Of course, Gilbert and Fletcher will be in there also with Colorito. Ryan, Mecklenburg, Hundley, and Jackson are the four linebackers. And Mecklenburg will move up and down along that line. Wright, Harden, Robbins, and Foley, as Randy Robbins replacing Dennis Smith, who's out with that groin injury. The secondary for Denver, and it's first down and 10 for San Diego at the 38. And Lionel James is going to be stopped for a yard loss at the 37-yard line. We'd like to welcome those viewers that have been watching the New York Jets New England game here in San Diego. The score is the Denver Broncos 7 and the San Diego Chargers 7, and the Chargers with the ball now at their own 36-yard line, second down and 12. This is Charlie Jones along with Jimmy Cefalo. A gorgeous afternoon in Southern California. Little play action fake by Fouts, has some inside pressure. He is on target to Gary Anderson and a first down. 22 yards to the Denver 43-yard line.
Charlie, it's hard to believe that some people have suggested that the San Diego Charger offense has grown complacent and conservative. This is not conservative. So far in this first quarter, they've thrown the ball, thrown it very well, and they also talked about Dan Fouts' arms. He fit that ball right under the nose of Louis Wright. That was a great throw. There's nothing wrong with Dan Fouts' arm this afternoon.
At the Denver 43, first down. Anderson. And he is starting about, he goes to the 38-yard line of Denver and picks up 5. It's going to be second down and 5 as Rulon Jones makes a tackle. He was sitting on that about 8 yards deep, so by the time he got the head on, he had a full head of steam up.
Yeah, he does. And anytime you give Anderson a full head of steam, you're in trouble. The good part about that, putting a tailback that far back, is you give him vision. You give him that cutback lane where he can see the ball, get the ball deep in the backfield, and make a decision as to where he wants to go. And they like to do that with Anderson.
We're tied at 7-7, second down and 5. The Charger offense again moving. Fouts with good protection. And the pass is incomplete. The intended receiver, Wes Chandler, and he slipped down. Mike Harden had the coverage. Also, I think that the coaching staff of San Diego felt perhaps that they were going too much to the run and that they had not been throwing the ball enough, that they weren't offensive-minded enough, and they have been an offensive team for the last 8 or 9 years.
Yeah, but the beauty about the San Diego Chargers through those years is that if they lost 41-38. They lost 35-32. And if you're going to lose that way. Don't lose 33-7.
Dan Fouts has completed 4 of 6 for 80 yards and a touchdown. As time drops it off, and the pass is complete at the 36-yard line to Lionel James, who goes for 2 as Steve Foley is there for the Denver defense. It's going to be third down and 3. This will be an interesting call.
It will, and I would have a feeling, though, that if you're a Denver Bronco coach, you're sitting there saying, where are they going to go? They have maybe the greatest assortment of special people the NFL has ever known. When you can pull in a Kellen Winslow and a Wes Chandler and Lionel James and Tim Spencer and Buford McGee, they've got better personnel at the wide receiver and running back positions than anybody in football today.
We're moving on the 3-minute mark. Time remaining first quarter. We are tied 7-7. It is third down and 3. No, excuse me. It is fourth down and 3. The graphic is correct. Swing to the right side to Lionel James, and he is going to come up just shy of the first down. Mike Harden makes the tackle.
And a surprising call by the San Diego Chargers to decide to go for it down. Fourth down and just 3 yards to go, and they try to go with the swing pass. There was a safety blitz coming in, and they are not successful with it. Let's see how close he comes to it. Not close enough.
And Denver takes over on downs. We'll be back in just a moment. We are tied at 7-7. We're back. The score, Denver 7, San Diego 7. I lost track of the downs is what I did, and it was obviously, as you know, it was fourth down. Were you surprised that San Diego went for it on fourth down?
Yeah, I think the Chargers lost track of the downs, too. They got, I mean, going for it in 4th and 3 in this situation, early in the football game, it's tied. If they kicked the field goal, it would have been about 53 yards. That's Panershka's career long. So you either do that or you punt it. Are they saying to themselves, well, we're 1-4. If we lose this football game, so we're 1-5? I mean, if that's the case, it's a sad, sad state of affairs in San Diego.
All right, Denver has the ball at the 34-yard line. Maybe they just felt the offense was working today, and let's see. Let's get it to work. Sammy Winder has just a couple of yards to the 36. It's going to be 2nd down and 8 as Leslie O'Neal makes the tackle. The Eagles and the Giants scoreless in the first quarter. The Raiders now leading Seattle in the second quarter by a score of 7-0. That game in the Coliseum in Los Angeles. Minnesota and San Francisco are tied at 7-7 in the first quarter. Those are the other 3 games, the late games, being played in the National Football League, along with this one, and we are tied here. Denver 7 and San Diego 7. Denver has a 2nd down at their own 37-yard line. The officials brought the ball. And here's the sweep to the left with Winder. And so now it seems that the Broncos offense has gotten conservative just for a moment as Fred Robinson makes the tackle.
Well, they have been successful both, as I mentioned before, with their running game and their passing attack. Winder is coming off a couple of good football games in a row. That time, a nice play by Fred Robinson, who just kind of ran it down from the outside. A former defensive end playing a linebacker spot that does not happen often.
3rd down and 6. Dan Reeves, the head coach of the Denver Broncos. And with Dallas defeating Washington, now the Broncos and the Chicago Bears are the only 2 undefeated teams in the National Football League at this point. And Elway to throw from the shotgun on 3rd down and 6. The pass is complete to Wilhite, and he will pick up the 1st down. He goes to the 45-yard line. He needed 6. He got 7, and Billy Ray Smith makes the tackle.
And he lips off the field a little bit. Looks like he just got a little bit of banged up leg or something. He's running a lot smoother there. But good news on that play for Bronco fans. Vance Johnson was wide open coming across the middle. Of course, just coming off the injured reserve list off of knee surgery. Looked very good running across the field. They activated him just the other day, saying that maybe it was 50-50 or whether he would play or not. But today he looks very good, very fluid, and like the Vance Johnson of old, at least if that play was any indication.
Vince Sampson wide to the far side, and Steve Watson wide to the near side. And here's Winder into San Diego territory. He picks up 6 yards to the San Diego 49-yard line. It's going to be 2nd down and 4. Dee Hardison was there to make the tackle. And Gil Byrd also had a defensive hand on the play. 2nd and 4.
The Broncos never known much for their running attack. One of the main reasons, they've got an offensive line that are basically finesse blockers. That doesn't mean that you won't have a successful running attack. But in this game, positioning people means that you're usually going to block for a passing game instead of blowing them out and trying to move a hole for a Sammy Winder or a Gerald Wilhite.
And we take the countdown to the end of the first quarter. And the score after the first period of play is Denver 7 and San Diego 7. And we'll be back after this commercial message. This is Charlie Jones along with Jimmy Cefalo as we start the second quarter at San Diego Jack Murphy Stadium. The score, the Denver Broncos 7 and the San Diego Chargers 7. Time of possession in the first quarter, Denver almost 11 minutes and San Diego just over 4.
Well, now that's a good San Diego game, though. That's the way it used to be.
4 minutes and 15 seconds and they had a touchdown.
That's all they need with Fouts back.
Here's Gene Lang. Picks up the first down as he goes to the 35-yard line of San Diego. That's a pickup of 19 yards on the play and a first down.
And what a run by Lang. You know, when you look at the running backs for the Broncos, they all look like clones. Now, this could be Wilhite, Winder, or Gene Lang, but that's Lang, and he's moving. Nice run by Lang.
You're all right, 5'10", 5'11", around 200 pounds. All with good moves.
That's right, good moves.
Good speed, but not breakaway speed.
Good receivers, able to block a little bit. They really do look a lot alike.
First down Denver at the San Diego 35-yard line. Hackett, the tight end, showing motion, and Winder gets the call. Jeff Dale, the leading tackler, strong safety for San Diego, was there for the defense. You have a feeling that the Broncos are very conservative in their offense?
Well, against San Diego, this is what you want to do, though. You want to grind it out, keep Fouts on the sideline, keep the offense away from the football. And if they can continue to run today and throw in an occasional Elway pass, then they'll be very happy to do that.
Gain of 6. It'll be 2nd down and 4. A reminder, and we'll be selecting the Budweiser most valuable player for today's game at the conclusion of the game. 2nd and 4. And here's Willite, and he does not make it around the corner. He will lose a yard as Lee Williams was there to bring him down at the 30-yard line. So it's going to be 3rd down and 5. Billy Ray Smith also a hand on the play, and that means the Broncos will be throwing.
And that's a strong side for the Charger defense. Lee Williams, quite a football player, and Billy Ray Smith, the first-round choice of a couple of years ago. The two of them on the left side of the Charger defense, that's a formidable task of trying to run toward that side because both Williams and Smith are very quick and very agile, very good against the run.
Sampson goes wide to the far side, and then 3 wide receivers on a slot on the near side. Johnson showing motion, and we've got flags.
Offense, false start. Still 3rd down, 5-yard penalty.
Ken Lanier with the false start. It'll be 3rd down. 3rd down and 10 now with the ball back at the 35.
And that time, Kenny Lanier just picked his hand up. Once he gets set in that 3-point stance, he's not allowed to move at all. When he did, Lee Williams alertly just reached over and tapped him. That's all the official needed for the infraction.
Elway repositioning his receivers. Blitz is coming. He has to get rid of it to Vance Johnson. It is incomplete. A flag down at the 42-yard line. Kevin Wyatt had the coverage for San Diego. And I believe it's going to be holding on Dave Stutter. Let's see.
Holding, number 60 offense. Penalty refused. 4th down.
It was on Paul Howard.
At that time, Elway did change the play at the line of scrimmage. He saw the blitz coming, had to get rid of the football very quickly, and Johnson should have made the reception. However, it would not have been enough for a 1st down.
Jack Wheel comes aboard to kick, and Lionel James will set up as the punt returner for San Diego. We're tied. Broncos 7, Chargers 7. And we have just under 12 and a half minutes left to go in the 1st half.
And it's a very quiet crowd
Yes,
in
it
San
is.
Diego, isn't it? It's very, very quiet in the stadium right now.
It's almost as if everybody is observing the Chargers. You know that they're off to a dismal start of 1 and 4. And they're just kind of sitting back to say, you know, what's going to happen next? Going for the corner. And they're going to rule that he did not get it, and it'll come out as a touchback. And the ball will be at the 20-yard line, so a net of only 15 yards on that kick. We're tied at 7. Back in a moment. This is Charlie Jones and Jimmy Cefalo with 12 minutes and 21 seconds left to go in the 1st half. San Diego with the ball. The Broncos and the Chargers tied at 7-7. And Dan Fouts has completed 6 of 8 for 84 yards and a touchdown. Here comes the sweep to the right side with Lionel James. And James has the 1st down and goes out of bounds. He picks up 14 to the 34-yard line. Steve Wilson is the man who chased him out. And now let's go to New York City. Bob Costas for an update.
Charlie, it looks like the Raiders might make it 3 in a row after 3 consecutive losses to open the season. Look at Jim Plunkett elude the rush, and then he hits Jesse Hester for the long touchdown play to give them a 14-0 lead over the Broncos' closest pursuers, the Seahawks.
Thank you, Bob. Plunkett may get the comeback player of the year again.
The 3rd or 4th time in his career. You're absolutely right.
Here's Buford McGee gets the call for San Diego to the 39-yard line, a gain of 5, so it's going to be 2nd down and 5 as Steve Wilson and Tony Lilly make the tackle for the Denver Broncos. In that Denver secondary, they have 9 players, and we'll see them all.
And they all, again, look like clones of themselves.
They do.
Wright and Wilson and Lilly and Foley and Smith all look like themselves, like the other guy. And Joe Collier, of course, the defensive coordinator for the Broncos, is one of the best defensive minds that's ever been around this game.
And has been there for 18 years. And that's one of the reasons, maybe the main reason, that the Broncos defense has been so good for so long. Going deep, and it's there. Anderson, now here's what may have happened.
I got to hear this. Go ahead.
If you look at him and look where the shadows are, as he looked back over the right, he's looking right into the sun.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I thought you'd like that.
Yeah, I use that many times.
Did you use that?
Yeah, I like it. It's one of my favorites. Now look at this. Again, coming into this game, all the people were talking about the only speed man they had was Anderson. He's got to get open deep. He did it. He just forgot the perfect pass from Fouts. This is a wonderful throw. There's absolutely nothing wrong with the arm of Dan Fouts. Look at that pass.
He just dropped it. You're right. I mean,
well, you don't know.
Sun had nothing to do with it.
Well, they'll tell him that, but it may have. This can be a difficult stadium when the sun just shines over the top of the stadium.
3rd down and 5. Fouts to throw again. And he is on target to Kellen Winslow. The ball pops loose. And San Diego has it at the 44-yard line. Charlie Joyner was chasing it. Daniel Hunter was there for the Denver Broncos. It'll be a San Diego first down, and we'll take another look.
All right, the Broncos secondary likes to play man-to-man. Here it seems like they had some man-to-man coverage, and Winslow just turns his man around, Daniel Hunter. Let's see, the ball, a nice alert move by Joyner to get on it, although it seemed that it would have rolled out of bounds and remained the property of the Chargers regardless.
You're going to mark it back at the 48-yard line. And it is a first down. So it goes for a gain of 13. And San Diego in Denver territory as Holohan shows motion, and Fouts is back to throw. Steps away, and he drops it off to Kellen Winslow. A flag is down as Winslow is down. A gain of about 9 on the play. Mecklenburg was there, along with Tom Jackson.
Holding, number 26 offense. 10-yard penalty, still first down.
Holding on Lionel James.
Well, you can hardly blame him, though. If I was that small, I might hold somebody, too. Alongside with playing good man-to-man football, the Broncos this year are doing much more blitzing than they were in the past. You see a little bit of a stunt going on in the middle. The 57 Tom Jackson coming from his linebacker spot, nearly grabbing a hold of the quarterback. But the holding call will negate a nice play one more time between Fouts and Winslow.
San Diego now back at their own 42-yard line. It's first down and 20. Ball game tied at 7-7. The lateral to Gary Anderson. Holohan, the receiver, then to Anderson, and then in the arms of Tony Lilly of the Denver Broncos.
Well, a little tomfoolery this early in the game. That's the play a couple of years ago, if you remember, with the San Diego Chargers and Miami Dolphins called the greatest game of maybe all time in the NFL. The Dolphins used that play to score a touchdown against the Chargers, but that usually happens late in the football game or late in the half. But I like the call, though. Forget the conservative approach is not by way of Don Coryell nor Dan Fouts.
Second down and 17. The ball at the 45-yard line. Anderson in motion. Fouts has pressure, and he is sacked. That is the first sack of the ball game for the Denver Broncos. Simon Fletcher gets the sack. That is their 20th of the year, and they're one of the top-ranked sacking teams. The Rams coming into the weekend with 20, Chicago and Denver tied with 19.
And that's Charlie Joyner, number 18 in the backfield. Look at that. Well, we mentioned earlier that they like to blitz. This time, it looks like just a straight 3- or 4-man rush. Fletcher coming in to get a hold of Fouts.
So a loss of 7 back to the 38-yard line. It's going to be third down and 24. So the offense of San Diego sputtering as the defense of Denver has now taken control of this drive. Fouts sends only 3 on the batter and then releases 2 more. But he goes deep and he overthrows the intended receiver, Wes Chandler. There's not a flag because the pass was too high. I don't think that he could have caught it. Mike Harden was there with the coverage. It's going to be fourth down and 24, and the kicking team will come in. So the excitement was there in the long pass to Gary Anderson that he dropped.
Yes, it was. One more time, that long route of Anderson would have provided the Chargers with a 7-point lead. One of the criticisms, they have not been trying to throw the football long, but they've done it twice here, twice successfully if he hangs on to that football.
Mojinko to kick. This is his first punt of the ball game. And Gerald Wilhite is set for the return. For the kicker, and it is high but very short. but takes a San Diego roll. And will be down at the Denver 26-yard line. We've got a timeout after that 36-yard punt. The score, Denver 7, San Diego 7. Back in a moment. In his career, Dan Fouts has thrown for almost 22 miles of completed passes.
22 miles. You could have taken this picture. Take a look at his motion. You could have taken that picture 5 years ago. Dan Fouts looks the same today as he did that time ago. This is simply a flat-out drop. He took his eye off the football, actually. It did hit him exactly between the numbers. He allowed it to get down to his chest, which is a no-no for a receiver. He's got to take his arms out and catch the football in his hands, not let it get to his shoulder pads.
Elway has completed 5 of 11 for 79 yards, and he comes out throwing, and the pass is complete to Steve Watson, and he'll have the first down. Gain of 13 yards on the play. The rookie Donald Brown from Maryland, taken in the 5th round of the draft, is the man who had the coverage. The Giants now leading Philadelphia in the second quarter. Raiders up over Seattle 14-0, and Minnesota leading San Francisco 14-10. Those are the games in progress, and here it is Denver 7 and San Diego 7. And earlier, Cleveland defeated Kansas City by a score of 20-7, with meaning now that the Kansas City Chiefs have a 3-3 record. Elway scrambling, and he is being chased and tries to dump it off and gets away with it, with Lee Williams hanging all over him, avoiding the loss.
And Lee Williams maybe robbed of a sack there. He's second in the NFL with 5.5 sacks to Rulon Jones' 6 sacks on the afternoon. Let's see, was he in the grasp? Was Elway in the grasp of Williams or not? Well, that's a grasp. That's a good grasp. I don't know about that, Charlie. I think if I was Lee Williams, I'd say to myself, hey, I should be the league leader right now in sacks with 6.5.
I think you're right. Second down and 10. The ball at the 39-yard line. Denver's offense, 14 rushes and 12 passes, so it is very balanced. And the crowd wanted the sack or dumping the football to avoid the loss. Elway wants to go deep. He goes back across the field again, but he overthrows Steve Watson. He was running out of time. And Donald Brown had the coverage on Watson.
And that seemed to be the same exact play they were successful with earlier on. One more time, it was Watson against Brown. He turned him around, but not nearly as much. Here's that throw one more time from Elway, all the way across the field. And with the strength of an arm,
oh, yes,
you can forget about trying to stop that pass. That's either out of bounds or a complete one. He's not going to put it anywhere to allow the defense of the Chargers to grab a hold of that one.
They're down and 10 for Denver. The ball on their own 39-yard line, with just over 9 minutes left to go in the first half. Vance Johnson showing motion. Elway from the shotgun. And Elway to scramble for the first down. And he does it. And goes over the bench. You know, if there's anything, you can't criticize him. He picks up 11 yards of the first down, but if there's anything he does wrong, I think he scrambles too soon. Because I don't want him to get hurt. I want him to be around for a long time.
Yeah, he might scramble a little bit too soon, but you're right. At that time, he was smart enough to get out of bounds. There's Lee Williams chasing him all around across the field. Now, let me tell you something. If I had somebody that big and that fast chasing me from behind, I'd get out of bounds, too.
And look what's happened to him when he gets out of bounds.
Yeah,
it's still not over.
But a nice move by the defensive back not to force him, because Nadia Comaneci has nothing to worry about.
That was about a 3.4, I know. First down at the 50-yard line. Wilhite is dropped for a loss. He'll lose 3 back to the 47. It's going to be second down and 13, as Thomas Benson was there just waiting on him.
Nice play by Benson as well. He's a trade from Atlanta. The Chargers are very happy to come up with him. The knock against him there in Atlanta was that he had trouble picking up their defense. But here he's doing it all for the Chargers. A good young linebacker. Nice play.
Second down and 13. As Sampson goes wide to the far side. Wilhite is the remaining back with Elway. Mark Jackson showing motion. I'm going to drop this one off to Wilhite, and under the pressure, he's overthrown. It's going to be third down and 13. Ball at the 47-yard line. That's a rather strange play selection, wouldn't you think?
Well, I would think so, but that was just a secondary receiver. He released downfield when he saw Elway in trouble. The Chargers have been playing fairly well defensively thus far. In fact, for their last few football games, they've not been playing poorly.
3rd down and 13. The Denver Broncos with that perfect record of 5-0. And the Chargers off to a 1-4 record. Four-man rush by San Diego. Elway has time. He goes deep. And it is intercepted. Gil Byrd has the interception. Don't spike it. Cost you a penalty in the field of play. Gil Byrd's 4th interception of the season. And the first turnover of the ball game. We've got a timeout. The score is Denver 7, San Diego 7. We'll be back in a moment. This is John Elway's 2nd interception of the year.
What the Broncos, what they're trying to do is spread that San Diego defense just straight down the field and let Elway pick somebody out. But it's not a bad play for him because it would have been 4th and 13. It winds up as a 36-yard punt, actually.
Quick screen far side. Anderson has it. And Carl Mecklenburg makes the tackle. Let's not overlook that point because it was 3rd down and 13. Incomplete pass, it's 4th down and 13. It ends up to be about a 36, 37-yard kick. The Chargers do not have that good a field position. So from Denver's standpoint, it was a pretty good play.
Yeah, not a bad play at all, and not a bad play by Gil Byrd. His job is to sit there back in the middle of the field and read Elway's eyes, and that happens to be his 4th interception of the last 3 football games. Not playing poorly for a defensive back here in San Diego. That's good news.
Gain of 7 on the last play, 2nd and 3. And Fouts fires. Pass is complete to Eric Sievers. And for Sievers, that is his first reception of the year. He's been bothered by an early knee injury. He wanted to get back into the offense, and he has. Ricky Hundley with the tackle and a first down just outside the 32-yard line. Mark at the 33-yard line as we pause briefly for station identification. This is the NBC television network. This is Charlie Jones, Jimmy Cefalo, Denver 7, San Diego 7, with 6 minutes and 50 seconds. That is the time remaining in the first half. And here is Gary Anderson, and he's in trouble and will lose yardage as Ricky Hundley leads the Bronco defense. Let's take a look now. The game's in progress. Giants still leading Philadelphia by a score of 7-0. The Giants, no question, a force in the East. The Raiders, and they are playing Seattle, the closest pursuers of the Denver Broncos, and the Raiders at home leading Seattle 14-0. And Minnesota in front of San Francisco by 4. And here it is, Denver 7, San Diego 7. There are 4 games going on in the National Football League at this time. All the other games have finished. 2nd down, 14 after the loss of 4. Fouts has pressure. He gets it off just in time to Lionel James, who can't hold on to it, as Rulon Jones was there for Denver. 3rd down and 14 at the 29-yard line. Now do you come back and go deep to Anderson as we take another look at the last play?
Well, you might. The timing got messed up here because Fouts trips right off the bat, and he's thrown off just a bit. He has to look up, reset himself, and just tries to dump the ball up. Yeah, I think they're going to try to go deep most of the afternoon. We've already seen them try it twice, and I'm sure that Anderson went back to the huddle and said, look, I just plain dropped it. Please go back to that play one more time, because the only way he can redeem himself is by coming back and catching one of those the next time out.
Is that play more effective in 1st and 10 rather than 3rd and 14 when you know that everybody's going to be throwing?
I think so. 1st and 10 is the time to go for the bomb, in my opinion.
Winslow cannot pull it down, and it'll be 4th down and 14. And that offensive set at the top of the screen, the wide receiver on the left side was Anderson, who's not running that deep a pattern, but it's 4th down and 14 as Randy Robbins was there for the Broncos, and Ralph Moshinko will come in to kick for San Diego. Gerald Wilhite will be the punt returner for the Denver Broncos. Moshinko, a left-footed kicker. And we mentioned that because it has a reverse spiral on it, and that means if you're not used to it as a punt returner, it's just hooking different as it comes into you. It can cause you some problems. Particularly if there's any kind of a wind, the pressure's on, he gets a good kickoff. Wilhite will field it at the 19-yard line and heads for the near side out to the 30. Oh, hit at the 30-yard line. Comes down airborne for a couple of yards. An excellent 52-yard punt with a 12-yard return. And we've got a timeout. It is still tied. Denver 7, the Chargers 7. And here is Gerald Wilhite as he goes airborne and comes down. Ralph Mojico really saved the day.
Yeah, well, bad snap by the center, bouncing up Jim Leonard. The snap, and he just happened to get it off then. Watch this. Whoa, thank goodness. Keep it going. He's really
He got airborne, too, didn't he?
Yeah.
52 yards on the kick.
He boomed that one away.
So Denver is a first down at their own 31-yard line. We're tied at 7-7 in the sunshine in San Diego. Elway with lots of time. Pass is complete to Winder. He's got about 9 yards. They'll mark it at the 40-yard line. It's going to be second down and 1. Fred Robinson, who has moved from a defensive end to a linebacker this year, makes the tackle. Time of possession. That's 2-1.
Yeah, just about 2-1. But again, that's a typical Charger game from the past. They have tried to establish the running attack more often to try to help their defense out because, again, you keep the defense off the field more often if you can establish that running game. But here, just less than 9 minutes already of possession for them means they have gone back to the pass.
Second down and 1. Sammy Winder picks up the first down as he goes to the 43-yard line with Leslie O'Neal and Fred Robinson on his back, and a first down for the Denver Broncos. And Denver likes the idea of keeping their offense on the field. They want to keep that defense rested, particularly for the second half. I think one of the reasons the crowd in San Diego is so quiet is they say this is well and good and you're playing nice in the first half. But in the last 4 ball games, you've self-destructed in the second half. I mean, you haven't done anything. They've had 25 possessions in the second half, 14 turnovers, 7 punts. They've run out the series twice. They've had 2 field goals. They've scored 6 points in the second half last 4 ball games. I think that's one of the reasons the crowd is kind of sitting back waiting. All right, show us some action in the second half. Then we'll cheer because it is really quiet here. Elway with a middle screen to Sammy Winder. And Winder close to the 50-yard line. We'll give him 7. It's going to be second down and about 3.
This crowd is unbelievably crowded, though.
It's like a day at the beach.
Yeah, but, okay, I'll take your explanation.
That's one explanation.
Yeah, all right.
I could give you another one if you don't like that one.
No, I like that one. But let me tell you something. If it was me, I'd say, hey, I better cheer in that first half because the second one's been a killer.
That's right. I haven't had anything to cheer for.
And this group looks like they're at a church service. I mean, they are a quiet group.
We're working on our suntans.
To the laid-back Southern California, like, hey, man, this is the game here.
3.5 minutes to go in the first half. Second down and 3. And Winder on the drive, the first down inside the 40, makes a good move. Almost breaks it to the 27-yard line. 24 yards for Sammy Winder, who now has 54 yards rushing and 10 carries, an average, as you know, of just over 5 yards a pop.
A little draw to Winder up the gut. Some nice blocking by the people inside, by Howard and Dave Studdard, number 70 especially. Look at that move on Bird.
That's a great move.
Yes, it is. And he also got away from Jeff Taylor, who was chasing him from the back and just ready to crunch him at that very moment that he made that move.
First down and 10 at the San Diego 27-yard line. The Broncos trying to break the tie. Gene Lang. And they'll have to go to the air to do it as Chuck Ian was there for the San Diego Chargers. You lose a yard. Let's call it second and 11.
To give you an idea how young that San Diego defense is, though, Chuck Ian is the old man of their front line. It's only his 4th year, Charlie. They're a young team, and I think the fans here in San Diego at least can look at the defense and say, yes, they're progressing, a young team. They're much more aggressive under Ron Lynn this season, their defensive coordinator, and really have not played that poorly over the last few weeks, but they have not, surprisingly, gotten the support of the Charger offense.
And they're taking the countdown now to the 2-minute mark of the first half. And the 2-minute warning will be given to both benches, and we'll take a timeout with the score. Denver 7 and San Diego 7. We'll be back with the last 2 minutes of the first half in just a moment. In the first half, Denver has had possession of the football for 19 of the 28 minutes. So almost 2-1. The Chargers have had the ball 10 minutes. 10 minutes to 19 for the Denver Broncos.
And the Broncos have not put more than 7 points on the board. And there could be a problem because of the heat here in San Diego. You know, Denver, I was there. Yeah, I woke up in Denver yesterday morning, and there was 8 inches of snow on the ground. So they're not used to playing and practicing, at least this past week, in the warm weather.
Or is the air too thick at sea level? Second down at 11. Elway from the shotgun. Here comes the blitz. Over the middle, it is Red. Wilhite pulls it in. First down. Good play for the Broncos. Kevin Wyatt, the rookie out of Arkansas, makes the tackle after a gain of 15 yards. Let's check the games in progress. The Giants still lead. The Raiders still in front of Seattle. Seattle has a Norm Johnson field goal. San Francisco now in front of Minnesota by 3. There's a change in that score. And here it is 7-7 with the ball now at the 13-yard line of San Diego. And the clock continues to move now with 1:23 and counting. Be sure to stay with us for NFL 86 at halftime. Now Denver wants to score. They want to use up as much of the clock as possible here at the end of the first half. Little play action fake that nobody pays the attention to. Gets away from the sack, and he's throwing it out of bounds just to avoid the loss. Now you can do that as long as you throw it out of bounds.
Yeah, they'll give it to you. The other rule is that it only has to be within the area of any player, not your own player. There was a defender not more than 1 or 2 yards away from him. Seemed like he was trying to go to Clint Sampson, who was maybe the closest player in that area, but I got to tell you, there weren't very many white jerseys.
That's right.
Watch this. Ian almost gets him, grabs a hold of the leg, and almost pulls him down. Not quite. Then he's got to worry about Dee Hardison coming in and just flings it out of bounds.
Elway's only been sacked 8 times this year. I mean, he's had really good protection. One of the reasons he stepped away from the tackle because of his strength.
He's got quick, happy feet.
Second down and 10. A flank, and it is there and out of bounds. That'll stop the clock at the 4-yard line. Sammy Winder picks up 9 yards to the 4. Kevin Wyatt was in pursuit. The clock is stopped now with 1:02.
All right, let's take a look at Steve Watson, though. Watson on the other side of the field was wide open on this play. Makes a nice release, and going toward the goal line, it seems like maybe they could have fit the football into him. Not wide open. I got to take that back. Wide open to me.
Open enough.
Open enough for a touchdown, very possibly. But the Broncos will take it. I mean, they're moving in good position with a chance here to get a first down and keep this drive moving.
They're down and 1, the ball at the 4-yard line. Sammy Winder, fumble, scramble for it. No, the ground cannot cause a fumble. That's what that signal means for the referee. So when he hit, he had possession. The ball then popped loose, and so it is not a fumble. And it will be 4th down, and let's take another look.
You're absolutely right, Charlie. The ground cannot cause a fumble. Is he down?
Yeah.
He is down. There he is on the ground. Yeah, pops out afterwards.
Yeah,
and, of course, the crowd here wants the call, but it was an accurate one by the officials.
Interesting. That was 3rd and 1. You know, you figured that they're going for the score. And what in reality, with now we'll have a timeout to stop the clock by the Denver Broncos, is that they're going to go with a Rich Carlos field goal attempt. But the Broncos take a timeout, and we'll join in the score. Denver 7, San Diego 7. When we come back, the Broncos with a field goal attempt. This is Charlie Jones, Jimmy Cefalo. During the commercial timeout, I was discussing with Jimmy the call of Winder on the 3rd down and 1 with the great arm of Elway and his scrambling ability. I still think I would have had him throw into the end zone.
Yeah, I think so, too. There's less than a minute to go in the half. You come out and you try to get the ball in the end zone there. Here, they were simply trying to pick up a first down. I know every running play you think touchdown. But when they're stacked up that much in the short yardage and goal line position, usually you don't get much more than that yard or so. And you're right. I think I would have gone with the pass play as well with Elway back there. If you score the touchdown, great. If he doesn't have anybody open, he throws it out of bounds, and then you kick the field goal anyway.
Rich Carlos, who has successfully converted 4 of 5 field goal attempts this year, including a 51-yarder that is his career best. Gary Kubiak will hold, and this will be an attempt of 22 yards in total plays thus far. It's 2-1 offense. Denver has run 40 plays, San Diego 20. It goes right with the time of possession. Now to break the tie from 22 yards away. And it is good. So Carlos hits from 22 yards out, and the Denver Broncos are now in front of San Diego by a score of 10-7. With 26 seconds to go in the first half, Rich Carlos just splitting the uprights with a 22-yard field goal, and Denver leads for the first time in the ball game. And Carlos will now be kicking off to either Gary Anderson or Lionel James. And this is James a yard deep, and he will down it in the end zone. And they'll bring the ball out to the 20-yard line, which means, of course, they still have the 26 seconds remaining on the clock. Because inside of the 2-minute mark in the first half and the second half, the clock does not start on a kickoff until the ball has been touched by the receiving team inside the field of play. So with 26 seconds to go, the Chargers gambled earlier on 4th and 3rd. I expect them here to air it out deep.
Yeah, with 4th and 3 earlier on in that first quarter inside the Bronco 40-yard line, they go for it. So now with 26 seconds left, they should go for it. At least it's consistent with that philosophy. And they do.
Fouts back to throw. Has to drop it off outside to James. James goes outside, stopping the clock. Now with 20 seconds. The play took some 6 seconds. Louis Wright was there for the defense of the Denver Broncos.
After a gain of 2 yards. This is the most difficult time, though, to try to get something deep down the field, because the Broncos aren't going to come in a man-to-man situation. They're just going to zone back there as much as possible and force Fouts to try to pick in between the defenders and maybe take a short gain, but nothing deep at all.
Anderson comes wide to the near side. Wes Chandler is wide to the far side. Anderson is the speed receiver on the near sideline. He's going to be running right into double cover. And Fouts is going to be sacked. He ran out of time as Simon Fletcher has his 2nd sack of the ball game. And that is the 21st for the Denver Broncos. Now, Fouts has had pretty good protection. He has been sacked only 8 times this season coming into the ball game, but he's been sacked twice here. But of course, he's being sacked here by one of the top defenses in the National Football League.
Yeah, he is. Rulon Jones up the top of your screen, 77, was pushed out of the play, but here comes Fletcher inside for the sack. And that is a strong defense. I got to tell you,
Yes.
I would not want to play against that club.
And San Diego stops the clock now with some 16 seconds left to go, and the ball back at the 15-yard line. So it'll be 3rd down and 15. And don't forget that tonight on Our House, a lesson in law could land Gus in jail. And on Easy Street, the stage is set for a great performance when Bully attends the ballet. But will he get rave reviews? Then it's Bondage versus Blondage. David blackmails Willie and Valerie as they get set for the hairdresser on Valerie. How do you like those program notes? But here's the big one. I got to tell you, if you have a chance tonight, watch the movie When the Bow Breaks. It is truly, truly an exceptional movie. Ted Danson stars, and it is really outstanding. If you get a chance, watch that one tonight. You like the program notes?
Yes, I like them very much. Bondage and Blondage and When the Bow Breaks, you got it all.
You're the funniest expression on your face. Here goes Fouts. There's time.
Lots of time.
All the time. And the pass is complete to the 46-yard line. A check of the clock shows 1 second and then triple zeros. As on the play, it took the entire 16 seconds, and Fouts is very slow to get up.
He looks a little wobbly there, but I think he's more exhausted than injured. And not the smartest play in the world by the receiver. He needed to get out of bounds is what he had to do, but was unable to get there at the end.
And so the score is Denver 10, San Diego 7. NFL 86 halftime activities will continue in a moment. And we'll be right back after these messages from your local station. Broncos had the football almost twice as long as San Diego.
They have. San Diego, though, has been productive when they've had it. They scored 1 touchdown. Should have had a second one when the football was dropped by Anderson earlier on. But the story here is that, yes, they played well the first half offensively, but what happens in the second half? That's when they've self-destructed.
So we'll wait and see. But right now, let's go to New York City and Bob Costas. Bob?
And we welcome those of you who have been watching the Broncos-Chargers game. I'm Bob Costas back at our NFL 86 studios in New York, and let's take a quick rundown of those scores. The Broncos on the Rich Carlos field goal of 21 yards just before the half, leading at 10-7 in their attempt to go to 6-0. The Giants are late in the second quarter at the Meadowlands on a Joe Morris 30-yard scoring run. They lead Buddy Ryan's Eagles 7-3. The Raiders go to the third quarter on a pair of Jim Plunkett touchdown passes, one to Jesse Hester, another to Dokie Williams. They bid for their third victory in a row and lead Seattle 14-3. The Seahawks are 4-1, and of course the Broncos closest pursuers now in the AFC West. San Francisco, Minnesota, just gone to halftime at Candlestick, 17-14 San Francisco. The 49ers trying to go to 5-1. Jeff Kemp has thrown 2 touchdown passes. He continues to perform superbly in relief of the injured Joe Montana. Jerry Rice caught one of those TD throws, his 7th of the year. Dwight Clark caught another one covering 45 yards. The Jets jumped out to a 24-0 lead at Foxborough at halftime today, then held on to win 31-24 despite a sparkling performance by Steve Grogan. He led a furious second-half comeback. He threw for better than 400 yards and 3 touchdowns. However, Johnny Hector ran for 3 touchdowns for the Jets, and they hold on to win 31-24 and lead the Patriots by 2 games in the AFC East. New England is even at 3-3. The Jets are 5-1. Dallas gives Washington their first defeat of the year. We'll look at highlights from that game. There was plenty for the fans at Texas Stadium to celebrate as Dallas goes to 4-2, Washington to 5-1, 30-6 Cowboys the score. Herschel Walker, a big factor, primarily as a receiver. He caught 4 passes for better than 100 yards in the first half. Steve Pallure, playing in place of the injured Danny White, scrambles out of trouble. Walker makes the catch, bounces off tacklers, and isn't hauled down till he gets to the 1, and a moment later he scored from the 1-yard line to give them a 7-0 lead. They led 16-0 at the half. George Rogers finally goes across early in the third quarter for the Redskins, but they missed the point after, which kind of set the tone for the day for them. There's Walker's second touchdown from a yard out in the fourth quarter, and now the defense does it as Randy White and Jim Jeffcoat combined to sack Jay Schrader. The 4th sack suffered on the day for Schrader of the Redskins. 30-6 is the final score in Dallas today. Miami committed 3 first-half turnovers, then righted themselves in the second half. They go to 2-4, Buffalo to 1-5. Buffalo has lost 20 straight road games, 27-14 the score today at the Orange Bowl. Chicago is 6-0, Houston 1-5, 20-7 the final as the Bears win at the Astrodome. And Dennis Gentry got them on the board early. There was no score in the second quarter when he, off the shotgun, takes a handoff from Jim McMahon. And look at the hole open up, and Gentry scampers in from 21 yards out. They were never headed. They win it by a score of 20-7. The Falcons go to 5-1. The Rams to 4-2. 26-14 is the final score in this game in Atlanta. It was pouring today. There you see the puddles on the field at Fulton County Stadium. Steve Bartkowski, longtime Falcon quarterback, returning and throwing this touchdown pass to Michael Young that gave the Rams a 7-3 lead in the first quarter. However, David Archer was taken over from Bartkowski as the Falcons signal caller comes back, and Charlie Brown is on the receiving end of this one after the tip for a 22-yard TD. That gave them a 20-7 lead, and eventually they win it 26-14. So if San Francisco beats Minnesota today, then it will be the Falcons and the 49ers tied for first place, each at 5-1 in the NFC West. Cleveland beat Kansas City today, so the Browns are 4-2. 20-7 was the final in that game. Bernie Kosar threw for 2 touchdowns. The Lions beat the Packers. The woeful Pack is 0-6. 21-14 the score. Rookie Gary James rushes for 140 yards and a touchdown for Detroit. James Jones, 99 yards on the ground for the Lions. The Saints beat the Colts. Indy is 0-6. 17-14 the score. The Saints win for the second time this year. They do it at the Hoosier Dome. The Cardinals vacate the ranks of the winless as they win for the first time this year, go to 1-5 with a victory at Tampa Bay. 30-19 the final score. Stump Mitchell a couple of rushing touchdowns. Neil Lomax threw for 2 as the Cardinals notched their first victory of the year. Now taking a look here to follow the progress of the Angels-Red Sox game. They're in the top half of the 9th with 1 out. The Red Sox batting and trying to stave off elimination. If somehow the Red Sox can rally, then they send the series back to Fenway. But right now, with Mike Witt on the mound, the Angels are just a couple of outs from winning this series 4-1 and going to the World Series against either Houston or the Mets. Back after this from your local station.
Jimmy?
Well, Dan Fouts hasn't had a bad first half. Those 12 of 18 for 135 yards. And the good part about it, though, is that he is 12 of 18. The bad part is that he's only been on the field for about 10 minutes. The time of possession is absolutely remarkable for that San Diego offense. They have not had many opportunities and have made good on one of them. That's why the score at 10-7. The bad news for San Diego fans is that during the second half, on 25 possessions in the last 4 football games, the Chargers have not scored a touchdown.
And so John Elway and the Denver Broncos are going to sit back and say, yeah, that's happened for 4 football games, but what's going to happen in this one? That's the only one that counts, Charlie.
All right, John Elway loosening up on the sideline. A very productive first half. He has certainly looked good. We look now to the statistics. 11 first downs, 80 yards rushing, only 18 for San Diego. Passing yardage just about even. And the difference in the total yardage is the rushing yardage of the Broncos. Elway has completed 10 of 21. Fouts has completed 12 of 18. The 1 turnover and the time of possession 2-1 on the Denver side as we start the second half. As Lionel James pulls it down in the end zone, and we'll take the touchback, and San Diego will come out to their own 20-yard line, first down. Boy, it's great to see Dick Crenna. Boy, what a great actor he is. You know, when we were in college together, a long time ago, he was doing the long time ago. He was doing the national radio shows. He was on The Great Gildersleeve. He was on Date with Judy. He was on My Friend Irma. He was on.
I don't remember those. I got
this as you're reading that. We'll come back to those. You don't remember those things, but a lot of our viewers do. We'll come back to that graphic again because that's the whole point of this ballgame right now for San Diego's side, anyway. This one is dropped off to Tim Spencer from the 20 to the 25. Gain of 5, second down and 5. Now back to the football game. In the last 4 games, the Chargers have had 25 second-half possessions. 14 turnovers, 7 times they've punted. Twice the drive has expired. Turned it over on downs. 2 field goals, 6 points, 0 touchdowns. Only 6 points on the 2 field goals the second half of the last 4 ball games.
And that is hard to believe for a San Diego offense. What has happened? I mean, this is the offense that is, since Don Coryell came here, they have scored more points. They have also had more yards and more time of just taking care of defense in this league. It's a shock.
Lionel James to the 31-yard line. He's got 6 yards and the first down. Carl Mecklenburg with the tackle.
Now, Carl Mecklenburg, he can just do just about everything. Watch as he chases the play down from the other side of the field. He's noticed he hesitated for just a second to make sure nothing was coming back the other way, but has enough speed and enough strength to get back in on the play. When he came out of college, 12th round draft choice, they said he did not have enough speed to play linebacker, not enough strength to play the defensive line, so he plays both of them as an all-pro.
And he plays all over that line.
That's right.
He's up and down. First down, San Diego. Fouts to throw, has time. As a man open, the pass is low, but it is caught by Olan. And I mentioned the fact it was low, but he was wide open. There wasn't a defender within 5 yards if the pass would have been up. He could have picked up another 5. He does get 17 to the 48-yard line.
Yeah, there's a mistake here somewhere. Olan should never be this wide open. At least if you're a Bronco defender, you've got to think that way. There is no one in that entire picture. Finally, Time Jackson comes over to just pounce on him to make sure he's going to stay down, but a breakdown in the defense of the Broncos.
Officials are going to spot it at the San Diego 49-yard line, and it's a first down. Fouts back to throw. And he will be sacked. 3rd sack of the ballgame. Mecklenburg and Rulon Jones will split this one. So Rulon Jones now has 6.5 sacks. And that is the 3rd for the Denver Broncos of the game, and their 22nd of the year. And let's check the other games in progress. Giants still in front of Philadelphia at halftime. The Raiders continue to lead by the same score, and San Francisco in front of Minnesota 17-14. And here Denver leads by 3, 10-7, and a look at Carl Mecklenburg.
Now this time he's in the down position in the middle of the line. That's what's so tough about him. He can play up, he can play down. Sometimes he comes at you as a linebacker, sometimes as a defensive end. There he was playing just off the nose in that front.
2nd down and 18. And here's the pitch to Anderson. Across the 45 to the 46-yard line. He's got 5, and it'll be 3rd down and 13 as Steve Foley, the free safety, moves up to make the tackle. A gorgeous afternoon in Southern California. A little misty rain last night and clouds this morning, but they've all blown away. And the sun is shining. The temperature now 72 degrees and just a perfect afternoon. Wes Chandler goes wide to the far side. Buford McGee is the remaining back. And he is there to block. Fouts throws. Comeback pattern on the far side. Fouts is running out of time, and Wes Chandler was the intended receiver. Steve Wilson had the coverage.
And that time, Chandler didn't make a move to the football. He lost it completely in the sun. That time, I'll agree with the receiver. Here's Mecklenburg. This time, he's down as a defensive end position. Now, watch the drive on him. He tries to run over. That's Claffin, Sam Claffin. He just gets to Fouts at the end of the play. That shows you his versatility. So far in that one drive, a nose tackle, a defensive end, and a stand-up linebacker. There are very few people who have the ability to do that around the league. The first, to my recollection, I know there's been many to do, was A.J. Dewey a few years ago, who was in between, small enough to play at linebacker position, big enough to play a defensive end spot.
Mojiko to kick. Will Hyde set for the return. Good snap this time. And a short kick. He gets them off better when they have the bad snaps, as he did earlier, but a San Diego roll. It'll be down in the neighborhood of the 11-yard line. So Denver will take over after that 43-yard kick, but they do not have good field position. They lead 10-7. Jimmy, we have a special welcome for the great folks from Harris Lanier, who are just brand new sponsors, NBC's NFL broadcast, and you were with them in Colorado this past week.
Yeah, I spent the last couple of days in Vail, Colorado,
where
it was great. 8 inches of snow, but Wes Cantrell and the rest of the Lanier people are very excited about the NFL, big fans, and glad to have them associated with the NFL and NBC as well.
We're excited that they could join us and that they're watching in. Is it still snowing in Vail?
I don't know. It was when I left, I got to tell you.
Gerald Wilhite from the 11-yard line out to the 14. A gain of 3, and it's 2nd down and 7. Fred Robinson, along with Leslie O'Neal, make the tackle for San Diego. I'm beginning to wonder if Denver's philosophy in this ball game is ball control, is the clock.
Well, that's
to try and do the same thing in the second half as they're doing that they did in the first half.
And for years, that's been the philosophy against the San Diego team, to try to control the football, but you've got to make good on it. They've had the ball for over 20 minutes, and they have not scored but 1 touchdown and 1 field goal. So if that's the case, they've got to put some points on the board.
Wilhite, fumble, and it's recovered by Denver. Keith Bishop got on the fumble. So although you're right, although the clock ticks, it's not been a productive tick-tock.
No, look, you can get creamed at time of possession. It doesn't matter. They're only down by 3 points. And that particular play is a prime example, because the ball pops out and San Diego winds up with it. And if they throw one pass that takes 7 seconds and they're leading by 4 points, then it doesn't matter about time of possession.
3rd down and 11. Major play for the Broncos. They need the 1st down here. Elway throws, and they've got it at the 35-yard line. Steve Watson pulls it in. 25 yards on 3rd down and 11.
And that is one strong arm by Elway. Watson,
yes.
A nice move to come across the middle. But you've got to feel pretty frustrated if you're a defensive back trying to defend this, because it's just a perfect pass. And Kenny Taylor, number 24, is right with Watson. Look at that, but a perfect throw. And Taylor's got to only think about what could have happened if he was just an inch quicker on that play. But Watson, Watson, a consummate professional in many, many forms. There, though, catching the ball in his hands, a classic possession wide receiver, yet with enough speed to go deep.
4 receptions, 92 yards for Steve Watson. 1st down for the Denver Broncos. Here's Winder, and he will lose a yard.
Today's game is brought to you by Mazda Cars and Trucks. The more you look, the more you like Mazda value. By MCI, communications for the next 100 years. And by the U.S. Army, a place to be all you can be.
This is Charlie Jones, Jimmy Cefalo. With 8 minutes and 43 seconds left in the 3rd, Denver with the ball and the lead by 3. Elway airs it out. It is a bit underthrown, and it is incomplete. Sampson, the intended receiver, Kenny Taylor, had excellent coverage on him. Now, this is a position formerly manned by Wayne Davis, and whenever the opposing team wanted to pick on San Diego deep, that's where they went. Kenny Taylor twice has turned them away with excellent coverage in this ballgame.
Yeah, he's playing very well. Wayne Davis benched after the Seattle game a week ago. You're right. Everybody went after him. So Kenny Taylor stepping in and doing a good job this afternoon there. Sampson had no place to go with the football. Taylor, great position, forced him to the sideline. And
Was he underthrown a little? He had to wait.
Well, he did have to wait a little bit.
That's a long way.
Elway threw the ball about 60 yards, though. And probably could throw it 70 if you ask him to.
3rd down and 11. Now, remember, they converted on 3rd and 11 just a moment ago, going to Steve Watson. And they picked up 25 yards on that play. And we've got flags down and whistles sound. So while they sort this out, let's check the games in progress in the National Football League. Oh, let's check all the finals. Good.
83 defense. 5-yard penalty. Still 3rd down.
The Jets win over New England. Dallas wins over Washington, so Washington is no longer undefeated. Miami has a victory. Good for them. Buffalo is still struggling a bit. Chicago is still undefeated. They and the Broncos, the only 2 undefeated teams. Atlanta upsets the Rams. I'm not sure if that's an upset or not, but they beat the Rams. Okay. And Cleveland 20, Kansas City 7, and that means that Kansas City's record is now 3-3 in the West. Detroit defeating Green Bay. New Orleans by 3 over Indianapolis. And St. Louis downs Tampa Bay. Those are the early games. Those are 3rd quarter scores. Now in the games being played at this time. Elway scrambles. Boy, he looks good. And we've got a penalty flag down the near sideline. The pass is caught by Mark Jackson. And we have a flag on this side, and he was juggling it right along the far sideline. And Elway just does it again.
Yeah, he does. That's a perfect
he'd
throw.
run out of options.
Well, perfect throw through a defender's arms.
Holding 32 defense. Penalty refused. 1st down.
28 yards on the play. Let's take another look at this one.
Another nice throw by Elway. This is where we're talking about his happy feet. You're right, Charlie. Maybe here he wanted to look for the scramble a little bit too quickly. It's one thing to look up in a pocket and step up to throw, but that's a little bit more of a scramble than he wanted. Now watch this. That's Kevin Wyatt who dives, just misses it. And an opportunity for Mark Jackson to get down the sideline. He wants to dance around. Oh, here comes Wyatt. He wants a piece of that. Number 30 jumping over the pile.
Now, in this drive, twice the Broncos have had 3rd down and 11. Both times they have converted, not for the 1st down, but also for a big gain. 1st down at the San Diego 33-yard line. And the clock continues to move. 8:17 left in the 3rd. Elway fires. It's there. And another 1st down. Clarence Kay, the tight end, pulls it in. Gary Plummer pulls him in, and a gain of 16. And now the Broncos just picking up big chunks of yards.
Yeah, and Elway looked like a bazooka that time. He just sat and put it over his shoulder and fire, and you can see the smoke pulling out the back end of his elbow. Watch this throw. Great feeling for a receiver to be sitting in a hole and worrying about getting drilled, knowing that he's got that type of an arm to get you the football. Gives you more time to catch it and head upfield, so you're not just a moving duck target for a defender trying to make a play.
First down at the San Diego 17-yard line. Elway sets, fires, it is tipped, it is incomplete. Sampson, the intended receiver. It will be 2nd down and 10. Thomas Benson, the inside linebacker, is the Charger who tipped the ball.
That's the kind of play the Charger defense has got to make, though, to break it from being a defense that has played well but gotten beaten in football games to one that makes the big turnover, gives the ball to the offense, and lets them put something on the board. Here you see Benson going up in the air for the tip. That ball's up in the air. You know, a defensive back, 3 in the area. Somebody's got to come up with it. That's the difference between a good defense and one that changes football games around.
2nd down and 10. All alone over the middle is Mark Jackson, and he goes to the 5-yard line. Gain of 12, 1st down and goal to go as Gilbert makes the tackle at the 5.
Jackson's been a pleasant surprise for the Broncos this season. When Vance Johnson went down, they needed some help out of this young man, and he's provided it for them, averaging more than 17 yards a catch so far in the young season. Nobody's around him at all, though. Look at this, Jackson. Nobody in the screen whatsoever.
So now the stadium is really quiet in San Diego. First down, goal to go for the Denver Broncos. They lead by 3, threatening here to stretch the margin. The give is inside to Gerald Wilhite. And he has a yard, maybe a yard and a half. It'll be second down and goal to go. Chuck Ian led the defense, along with Gary Plummer. Dan Reeves, the head coach of the Denver Broncos, going for his 51st victory.
And last week we went over his mentor, Tom Landry.
And that's the first time that any of Tom Landry's former assistants have defeated him the first time they played him as a head coach.
Given a game ball for that effort for his 50th win, and as well as beating Tom Landry in the calendar.
Little timing pattern. Oh, it was dropped. Oh, Sammy Winder, there wasn't anybody near you.
That's the hardest catch in football.
Shades of Gary Anderson.
Yeah, that's
except
right.
This one was even. Oh.
Yeah, this one's even more easy because it's a short pass. Corner of the end zone, nobody around him. It may be the toughest catch in football. It's so hard to know. And it was a tackle.
Why is it that tough?
Well, because nobody's around, and everybody's watching. You think about smiling, you think about spiking the ball. There's a lot going on in your mind, Charlie.
Are you kidding me?
No, football's the last thing you think about there. There's 6 photographers down in the corner ready to take your picture, and you're worried about catching the ball.
Well, no wonder he couldn't catch it. Third down, goal to go.
Again? No, that's Joe Wilhite. Okay, all right. Okay.
I thought they were going to come back to Winder. It is Wilhite. They say he had possession, and he scored from 3 yards out. It is a touchdown for the Denver Broncos.
Okay, let's take a look at it. Now, this time, Wilhite's not worried about those photographers. They can reload if they like. Because he gets into the end zone, doesn't drop it until after he gets over the goal line.
Yeah, he hit, the ball was in.
Yeah,
good call.
As long as it goes over the goal line, he could have dropped it anyway, but the ground caused this fumble besides. But once he's over the goal line, it is 6, and the Broncos go up by a little bit more.
16-7 with the extra point attempt. And that means, of course, that John Elway has now completed a touchdown pass in 13 straight ball games. The extra point is up, and it is good, and the score is Denver 17, San Diego 7. We'll be back with the kickoff in just a moment. That's tonight, Our House, here on NBC, and that's a good show. Be sure to join it. He's a good show. He's putting on a good show, too, John Elway. This season, Denver has been inside their opponent's 20-yard line 19 times, and 18 times they have scored 15 touchdowns and 3 field goals.
And it's referred to as the green zone. That's because where the money ball players go to work. That's right, the green zone inside the 20-yard line. Elway, that's his territory this season.
The kickoff is high and short. It is taken at the 14-yard line by Lionel James, and he gets about 10 yards on the return. That's going to be all, where Mark Jackson upends him. And now San Diego's trailing by 10. They have had 1 offensive possession in the second half. They didn't get anything out of it. So let's see what they can do now, because now for the last 26 possessions in the second half of the previous 4 ball games, the second half has been a disaster zone for them.
Yeah, they have, and there's the defensive backs, the secondary, looking down to find out exactly what Denver is trying to do to the secondary. So far, the second half, they've been very successful about it. Hopefully that board talk will help them out.
Here's Lionel James. Little Train has a couple of yards to the 25, second down and 8 as Tom Jackson makes the tackle. Now, did Denver see something in the first half that they have made some changes that they used on the last drive? Because twice on 3rd and 11, they went for long gains.
Well, that's very possible. That's exactly what you try to do. Talks at halftime, there's not New Rockney talks. People don't scream at halftime. They go in from upstairs. They put things up on a bulletin board to try to find out what they can do. They look at them up here in the booth to try to make some decisions. So that's probably what happened. They saw something they'd like to go after, and they've done it.
Second and 8. Anderson has this one at the 48-yard line. First down, 23 yards. Mark Haynes with the tackle as we pause briefly for station identification. This is the NBC television network.
You're watching Colorado's news channel, KCNC TV, Denver.
This is Charlie Jones, Jimmy Cefalo. With 4 minutes and 40 seconds left to go in the third quarter, Denver leading San Diego by 10. San Diego has something moving on offense. They need to put some points on the board if they're going to get back in the ball game. They drop this off to Anderson outside, makes a good head fake inside, has the first down. He's going to the 34-yard line. 19 yards on the play. Mark Haynes again with the tackle and a first down.
Gary Anderson is simply the most exciting player for my money in the league. I just love to watch him play, and if I were the Chargers, I'd try to get the football in his hands as many times as possible. Look what he does after he catches the ball. Quick, dart-like moves. He's like a little cat out there, and really an exciting ball player to watch.
And Tim Spencer, the fullback, was down out in front with a lead block. At the Denver 33-yard line, first down. Fouts has protection over the middle. It is tipped. It is in the air. It is pulled in with a one-hand interception by Tony Lilly. And Denver has the ball. And a flag is down at the 31-yard line.
Illegal block in the back, number 77 on the return. First down.
And that means, of course, that the interception will stand because the infraction came by Mecklenburg on the return.
Now a little bit too high, and the receiver, that's Winslow, goes up and unable to bring it down. That's dangerous. Let's go back a couple of minutes. By the way, Lilly makes a great one-handed catch on that, showing his athletic ability. Let's go back a minute to that play a few minutes ago when Denver was driving, same exact situation. The ball is tipped up in the air, and the Broncos don't come down with it. That's the difference between their defense, which is young and still learning.
San Diego didn't come down, Denver did.
That's right. Now Denver comes down here, same situation, ball tipped up in the air, and they make the play.
So Denver has the ball at their own 18-yard line. Now their last drive covered 89 yards in 12 plays, used up a lot of time on the clock. And they'll do that again. That's what their goal is right now, so we expect to see them come out running here. And they do. Here's Sammy Winder. 3 yards to the 21, second down and 7. In the third quarter, the Giants continue to lead the Eagles. The Seattle has a touchdown. So Seattle now is pulled within 4 of Los Angeles in the third quarter. And San Francisco out in front now. The margin is 10 in front of Minnesota, as is the margin here. It is Denver 17 and San Diego 7. Now earlier, Cleveland defeated Kansas City 20-7. San Diego is at Kansas City, and Denver next week at the New York Jets on Monday night. Watson showing motion, and here is Winder to the 29-yard line. Should be 8 yards in the first down. Let's see where they marked the play dead. Gary Plummer made the tackle, so he may have been sliding for that last yard, or they may want to know they're going to check the measurement. So it's about the 28-yard line.
Winder's still thinking about that pass he dropped in the corner of the end zone. That's always tough for a running back or receiver to know he's on television and dropping one of those.
And about 4 or 5 inches shy of the first down, so it's third down and inches. This is a break for the San Diego defense if they can stop the running attack here, and I figure that they will go. Or do you do a little play action and go deep?
Well,
is this an opportunity to do it and try and bust it open?
They can afford to do that, but in this situation, though, their philosophy today has been to control the football and keep San Diego's offense off the field. So it seems to me they would go for the running game here and try to get the first down, continue to build up that time of possession difference between them and the Chargers.
Third down and inches. Quarterback sneak with Elway. I've tried to cover every offensive possibility. Now, was there movement by the offensive line to pull off the Chargers, or was Elway just changing his cadence and that pulled them off? And we're having a conference on this one because it would be third down and 5 or the first down, depending on which way it goes. Quiet conference, and it's quiet in the stadium. And here's Gene Barth.
Encroachment defense. 5-yard penalty, first down.
Well, that's what a good quarterback will do for you. He has the experience. Sometimes they'll call the quarterback on a head bob. You know, he'll sit there and nod that head as if he's calling the signal to go ahead with it. But there, if they were drawn offsides at all, it was by his voice and not by movement in the interior line of the Broncos.
And isn't it the Bob Greasy rule that the quarterback cannot pull him off with that head bob? I mean, you can't bob that head as you're calling.
Yeah, he did it better than anybody else.
So they changed the rule.
Right. The officials started saying, wait a minute, that's not fair.
So it's a first down for Denver. The ball now on their own 33-yard line. 2 minutes to go in the third quarter. Sarah Wilhite. And he spins close to the first down. It's going to be second down and 1 as he goes out to the 42-yard line. And Gil Bird makes the tackle. But again, the Broncos continue to control the clock, and they now have that 10-point margin, which is all they need.
Yeah, absolutely. Earlier on, they were not getting any points out of their time of possession. But now here in the second half, this third quarter, they've eaten it completely up with a minute and a half left. And they did put 7 points on the board to up their margin to 10.
And San Diego's had 2 possessions in the second half. On one, they punted, and on the other one, they were intercepted. Elway, good protection. And he throws underneath the coverage to Sammy Winder at the 47-yard line. So he picks up 5 and the first down. Donald Brown was there, the rookie from Maryland, taken in the 5th round of the draft for San Diego.
And that's a nice safe play by the Broncos. It's really an option by Winder. He comes out of the backfield and is able to either come inside on a linebacker, go outside on a linebacker, or just hook up in the middle of his own. A universal player around the league, and Winder runs it as well as anyone. He has turned into quite a receiver for the Broncos.
First down for Denver at their own 47-yard line. Elway swings it into the right flat to Winder. He sets the tackle, makes a nice move, and he goes to the 50-yard line. So he picks up 3 on his own. It'll be second down and 7 as Chuck Ian then moved out as a defensive lineman and brought him down. And Denver will take the countdown to the end of the third quarter. With 15 seconds left.
Yeah, they're doing just what they wanted to do coming in, controlling the clock, running the football, short passing game to accomplish the same thing as a 4 or 5 yard run.
And there it is. That is the end of the third quarter. After 3 with 1 to go, the Broncos lead at 17-7. And we'll be right back after these messages from your local station. This is Charlie Jones, Jimmy Cefalo. We're at San Diego Jack Murphy Stadium in the sunshine. Time of possession in the game thus far. Denver has had the ball 29 minutes. San Diego has had the ball 16 minutes. And in the third quarter, still almost 2-1. It's stayed throughout. That ratio has been there.
And that's the key to this football game thus far, keeping Dan Fouts, who is throwing the ball fairly well this afternoon, off the field. He only had 2 opportunities in the third quarter. One resulted in a punt, the other in an interception.
At the 50-yard line, Denver has the ball. Second down and 7. It'll swing to Mark Jackson to the 41-yard line. San Diego territory. He picks up 9 in the first down. Nice little darter. He looks good in there, doesn't he? The rookie out of Purdue, taken in the 6th round of the draft.
Yeah, he can move. He can run and dart. You're absolutely right. There's a look at the third quarter stats.
In on the stop, Gary Plummer.
Total yards, 100 more for the Broncos.
9 yards.
And look at the time. I think the time becomes the big story. First down for Denver as they continue to control the clock and the ball game. Fake on the pitch out to give inside to Steve Sewell. And Sewell breaks it to the 25-yard line. A gain of 16. Kevin Wyatt with the tackle. And a first down for Denver. Donald Brown was also there for the defense. Great play.
Yeah, it is. An inside trap. You have everybody going the other way. It's kind of that opposite way coming back against the grain. Number 60 leading through. That's Paul Howard with a nice block. Now watch this. Number 80, Mark Jackson. If he gets a block on number 32, Donald Brown, that's a touchdown for Sewell. But unfortunately, he's not able to get the block, and Brown cuts it off to the inside. But a nice play coming back against the grain for the Broncos.
And here's the draw with Wilhite from the 26 to the 21. And it will be second down and 5. Terry Unrein, the rookie out of Colorado State, who has come off of injured reserve, was there for the defense, along with Jeff Dale, the leading tackler for San Diego. In the third quarter, the Giants stretching that lead over Philadelphia. Philadelphia with the field goal. The Raiders and Seattle, 4 points separating them in the third. And San Francisco continues to lead Minnesota, but the Vikings got a field goal. Those are the 3 other games in progress right now, along with this one where Denver leads San Diego 17-7. Sammy Winder And we'll mark it to 14. He needed 5, and I think that he got 6 of the first down, yes. Leslie O'Neal and Donald Brown for the defense. Number of plays. It's almost the game is almost 2-1.
Yeah, it's lopsided in every single way except for the score, where it's
And
still
it's a little more than 2-1.
Yeah, well, it's just 10 points
Yeah.
there, but every other way, it's completely lopsided. Time of possession, number of plays. Yet the Chargers continue to hang in, and if they had any production out of their offense here in the second half, they'd be right back in this football game. But unfortunately, their defense can't get them the football back.
Quick screen left side, Sampson, and he is down at the 10-yard line. Gain of 4. Second down and 6 at the San Diego 10. And the clock continues to move.
Stop by Tom O'Brien.
Elway is really the difference between making the Broncos probably right now the cream of the crop in the AFC.
Oh, yes.
And a team with a quarterback a little bit lesser than Elway, well, then right back in the middle of the pack. He is the difference right now in making the Broncos the team that everybody's looking towards to try and beating. If they want to make it past the AFC, they have to go through Denver this year.
Elway's production in the second half, he has completed 9 of 12 passes. Sammy Winder.
And off to Sammy Winder.
So it will be third down. Still about 4 to go as Billy Ray Smith makes the tackle.
Your theory about the crowd waiting for the second half to get loud has gone right out the window, Charlie.
No, they're still waiting. Nothing has happened. If you're a San Diego fan, nothing has happened. That's right. No, maybe they gave up. Boy, the crowd really, if we were in Denver and there was a 10-point margin either way, the Denver stands just go crazy.
Yeah,
I love the fans there in that stadium.
Yeah, I do too. But you've been here, of course. You live very close by, and I've done a couple of games here, and it's usually much noisier.
Yeah, yeah.
Situation also, Marty Barrett handles the bat so well. Last time we had this situation, Boggs, because of being hit last night, was thrown out on a nice play by Mike Witt. A lot of things can happen.
Barrett at the plate. Bunts toward first. Rich goes to second in time there.
Cheered it on. Maybe they're just working on their tans today.
Well, you see some Bronco.
Execute perfectly, and Boggs is again thrown out at second base.
Not a particular.
Now, as far as San Diego is concerned, they are still within 10, although Denver is driving. That's the good news.
We have offsetting fouls. We have illegal motion on the offensive right tackle. 98 defense was in the neutral zone. We'll replay the down.
Now, the bad news for San Diego is that the defense of the Denver Broncos that has been their bulwark over the years, well rested.
Yes, they have been well rested because they have not been on the field very often today. Joe Coyer last week, he blitzed and blitzed and blitzed against the Dallas Cowboys. Today, he said he wouldn't do as much of it, and he hasn't had to.
Third down and 4. And the ball is at the 8-yard line. Away over the middle. It is pulled in. It is caught by Vance Johnson. He goes to the 1-yard line. It'll be first down and goal to go. Gilbert saved the touchdown as Vance Johnson pulls it in.
And that's good news for Denver fans because he is back in the football game after that injury.
His first reception of the game.
His first reception since coming off the injured reserve list. And watch the catch he makes. Sometimes it takes you a while to get back into the flow of the game after an injury, but here he's concentrating on the football totally, not worried about being hit. That's a good sign coming off an knee injury because psychologically it's so difficult to come back after surgery and make a catch like this because he didn't know that he was totally in the clear. He had to worry about concentrating on the football and maybe taking a big hit.
Here's Winder, and he wins the race. Touchdown from 2 yards out, and Sammy Winder has his second touchdown of the day and his 6th of the year, and the Broncos now lead 23-7. And there's a marker down. Are they going to bring it back? Yes, they are.
Holding number 70 offense.
Holding on Dave Stutter.
And it is.
Oh, boy.
It's not Sammy Winder's day. He dropped
No.
one in the corner of the end zone. He has this one called back because of a holding penalty.
Well, that changes a lot of things. And it's first down, goal to go.
All right, there he is, number 70, top of your screen. Oh, he's got a fistful.
Right.
Yeah, there's no question about that. He's hanging on to 90, Fred Robinson. Dave stuttered with his hand in the proverbial cookie jar. Just happened to look like a San Diego Charger jersey.
Here's the draw with Will Height. And he is to the 8-yard line, where it will be second down and goal to go at that point. Terry Unrein with the tackle. And the clock continues to move now with 9:15 and counting, time remaining.
The Chargers defense has to do something here. I mean, they've got to become more aggressive. They got to become more attacking. They've got to try to strip the football. This is just the status quo, and I got to tell you guys that if you allow the Broncos to gain 4 yards a pop on first down, it's all over. So you got to go in there. They've got to mix it up. They've got to strip the football, but they're simply playing as passive a defense as they did in the past before Ron Lynn got here, is try to put a more aggressive approach into his scheme.
Elway. Does he make it? He does not make it in, and I think that was a quarterback draw all the way.
Oh, yeah, all the way.
He didn't take that long a look. He's about a foot away from the goal line.
It is all the way a quarterback draw, and there you see him once again. He's not sliding to the ground. All right, the call is made. It comes from the sideline. I got to run the football, but please, John, hook and slide, because all those people back in Denver think you're a franchise here for a long time.
And he is.
He is. He certainly is, but you know, there's a lot of big people out there. Look at that big Paul coming in from behind. He was like a hatchet coming over the top. And they get him, just as you see, about 6 inches prior to the goal line.
And it's third down, goal to go. Now with 8 minutes and 13 seconds and counting, with Winder and Will Height in the backfield. Here's Will Height into the end zone. No flag. Gerald Will Height has his second touchdown of the ball game and his 6th of the year. And so the score is 23-7, Denver.
That's the second time that Will Height has come up and taken the touchdown away from Winder.
Right.
The first time it was when Winder dropped the football, and this time Will Height scores after the touchdown is called back because of the holding penalty against Dave Studdard.
I'm glad they're friends. And Denver on that drive had the ball.
And there's the back.
47 seconds.
There's the backflip. I've been waiting to see that for a long time. Gerald Will Height finally with the backflip. Although he did it on the sideline. No flag on the play.
Yeah, he has to, you know, if you don't want to do it in the end zone, it'll cost you. Here's the extra point. And the score is 24 for the Broncos, 7 for the Chargers, back with the kickoff. We have played 22 minutes of football in the second half. Denver has had the ball twice. San Diego has had the ball twice. Denver with drives of 89 and 82 yards. 2 touchdown drives. The last were taking almost 11 minutes. San Diego has had the ball twice. Once they had to punt, the ball was intercepted. Here's Little Train James on the return, and he slides out at the 21-yard line, and a flag is down. Mark Jackson was there for the Denver Broncos.
Holding number 80 during a run back, 10-yard penalty, and it'll be a first down.
Holding called on Kellen Winslow. And San Diego will be moving for offense for the 3rd time in the second half. Trailing the Denver Broncos by a score of 24-7. We've got a timeout, and we'll be back in just a moment. Seven minutes and 52 seconds. That is the time remaining in the game. And look at the time possession. More than 2-1 on the side of the Denver Broncos. They have completely dominated the clock and the scoring. Fouts a little pump fake and throws back, and it is incomplete. A flag is down. Anderson could not pull it in, and the pass was right on the money. So Fouts, 16 now of 25.
And Anderson is the player they wanted to go to all day because he's the one with the speed. The rest of the players are simply mediocre as far as speed is concerned around the NFL. You look at Chandler, who doesn't have the blazing speed. Neither does Charlie Joyner, of course, whose name we have not called very often this afternoon.
Joyner does not have a reception.
Hands to the face. Number 68 refused. Second down.
Call on Gary Kowalski, and they refuse it. And it's 2nd down and 10 at the 11-yard line.
But in order for Anderson's speed to work for him, he's got to catch the long one he did earlier and worry about that, so they go back off him and then come back and catch that little curl, but he dropped both passes.
Houlihan showing motion. Here's a blitz from the outside, and Fouts is dropped at the 2. That is the 4th sack for the Denver Broncos. And Randy Robbins has his first sack of the year on a safety blitz. He's replacing Dennis Smith at strong safety.
And he had a clear shot to the quarterback. Now in a position like this, if you don't have a play on where you have enough blockers to pick up a safety, you've got to at least be aware enough to get rid of it. And that's surprising because Dan Fouts, with all of his experience, you think he developed a sixth sense to see that kind of a safety blitz, and he usually has, but he missed that one, and Robbins gets the sack.
3rd down and 19, the ball at the 2-yard line. Fouts goes deep into coverage, and it is almost intercepted by Louis Wright.
Today's game is brought to you by Ford and your Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately? By Budweiser, Beechwood Aids for that clean, crisp taste. This Bud's for you. And by RCA, technology that excites the senses.
It is 4th down and 19. And Ralph Mojenko kicking right from the back edge of the end zone. And he gets it off. Wilhite was the deep back. It is taken by the up back, Mike Harden. And Harden returns it for a score. 41 yards for Mike Harden.
And Harden, the up back, you know, that's the greatest feeling in the world. I've been the up back on some of these situations. They just put you in there to block. But when you look up and the ball's coming, you get this kind of blocking and score a touchdown. Hey, that made Mike Harden jeer there. A poor block by Mojenko, just a line drive. And that's trouble for a team because you see the blue jerseys coming down. They're only about 20 yards downfield by this time. That gives them a full head of speed. And after he breaks the first wall, Mojenko, the last shot to try to catch him. Touchdown, Denver.
For Mike Harden, that is his 2nd touchdown of the year. He scored one earlier on an interception. He's had a high-scoring year for a cornerback. The extra point is up, and it is good. And the Denver Broncos have blown it open, leading the Chargers 31-7. That is the Denver radio booth. Bob Martin, who calls their play-by-play, outstanding broadcaster, and he has been doing the Bronco games for 23 years. Really does a good job. Here's Lionel James on the return close to the 25-yard line, where San Diego will be moving on offense. Joey Hackett makes the tackle. For the Denver Broncos, it's Denver 31, San Diego 7, with just under 7 minutes left to go here in the sunshiny San Diego Jack Murphy Stadium. We've got a timeout, and we'll be back in a moment. Joel Collier, who has headed that Denver defense for 18 years. Stan Jones, their defensive line coach, has been there for 16 years. Moore's been there for 9. The director of player personnel, Carol Hardy's been there for 23, so a lot of longevity. And a long-range pass to Kellen Winslow to the 48-yard line of Denver, 27 yards on the play and the first down. They mark it at the 49-yard line of Denver. And San Diego now with their 2-minute offense with 6:40 to go. They need to hurry up and get anything going. Fouts throws right side. Is it caught? Yes, it is. At the 37-yard line. So a pickup of a quick 12 yards. Randy Robbins had the coverage. And the Chargers again going without the huddle. How complicated is this for your offense?
Not very much, especially with a stadium like this where there's no noise whatsoever. You're just calling the play and going up and wigging it. You just get a little winded now and again.
And he is on target at the 16-yard line. The pass is complete, but a flag is down. Steve Wilson bringing down Wes Chandler, who caught the pass. And holding is called against San Diego. So for the first time in the second half, the Chargers showing an offensive burst.
Well, it's only the third time they've had the football.
Fourth.
Fourth, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Offense, number 63. 10-yard penalty, still first down.
Call on Jim Leonard.
And it is a little bit easier at this time of the game because Denver's just going to sit back, try to keep everybody in front of them, but they're going to play a lot of zone defense. There are a little bit more holes out there. And a little bit easier in a 2-minute drill when there's 7 minutes left and you've got a lead. When you're on defense by this many points, it's a little bit easier for an offense to find those little holes.
Look at that. The Chargers have been outscored by their opponents 61-0 in the second half of the last 3 games. Fouts' pass is complete at the 32-yard line, so he picks up 15. Steve Wilson was there as Gary Anderson pulled it down. It's going to be 2nd down and 5, and again, going without the huddle. Now, is this a situation where he's saying, check with me, and he is actually calling the play at the line of scrimmage?
Oh, yeah, he just walks up and he calls the play. When he goes into a huddle, he'll call 2 plays. I'll explain that in a second.
And goes deep and overthrows everybody. Okay, back to your explanation.
Well, he got a flag on the play. But
Oh, yes.
what he'll do now that he has a timeout, they'll go in the huddle. He'll call 2 plays. And so they'll go up and they won't have to worry about communicating when they're running back up to the line of scrimmage. So he'll get 2 in, and then if it runs out.
Interference, 36 defense, first down.
Finally,
On Mark Ames.
a break for San Diego. So that the communication isn't as difficult because when you're running to the line of scrimmage, you're trying to get set and it's hard to hear the quarterback. So when he gets an opportunity such as this, he will call 2 plays in the huddle.
All right, so spot the ball at the 4-yard line where it's first down and goal to go. A 28-yard penalty assessed against the Denver Broncos. And a check of the clock shows 5 minutes and 23 seconds. That is the time remaining. And Fouts throws it. It's almost intercepted by Mark Haynes, who had the interference call, and he had a touchdown from 101 yards away. There wasn't anybody even near.
That's right.
And he was thinking about that.
Yeah,
And
he
the photographer.
was.
Like
Yeah,
you said before,
it's
of
that
course.
same corner, the same photographers. He's just coming off the injured reserve list as well after the trade with the New York Giants. He's been injured, but nice coverage at West Chandler. You're right, though. If he'd taken that.
Oh, there wasn't anybody.
Well, the only one who had an opportunity might have been Dan Fouts, and it had been a touchdown. I can guarantee that. Haynes can run.
2nd down, goal to go at the Denver 4-yard line.
All right, one more time. He comes out and he says, all right, first play, we'll run this. Second play, we'll run that. They're all set to go. They don't have to worry about the communication the next time up.
Over the middle, this one is intercepted 2 yards in the end zone by Tony Lilly. Lilly decides to run it out to the 12-yard line. That is Tony Lilly's 2nd interception of the ball game, his 3rd of the year. And Denver retakes control of this game. .22 Tony Lilly of the Denver Broncos. A flag down.
Personal foul, unnecessary roughness, number 80. During the dead ball, we'll bring it up 15 yards from the interception.
That's called on Kellen Winslow. And we've got a timeout. Denver has the football well in command with just over 5 minutes to go. And be sure to join us tonight on NBC. We have that great lineup of shows, Our House, Easy Street, Valerie, and then Ted Danson starring in the television movie, and it's truly a great one, When the Bow Breaks. It's all tonight, prime time, here on NBC. And right now, the primetime team is the Denver Broncos. They have a first down at their own 28-yard line as Tony Lilly, who you see there, number 22, has 2 interceptions in this ball game. And he has 3 for the year. And plus, as a free safety, he has a sack. And the quarterback is going to be Gary Kubiak of the Denver Broncos. So we will run some official statistics on John Elway as he is just going to rest. See, will you marry me, Tom? Chrisanna. You know, do you know Chrisanna?
No, I don't even know Tom.
I don't know Chrisanna. I don't know Tom. If we knew Tom, we'd talk to Tom, but we don't know Tom. Gene Lang gets the call and has 3 yards to the 31-yard line, 2nd down and 7. John Elway today completing 20 of 34 passes for 242 yards, 1 interception, and 1 touchdown. And that means that Elway has now thrown a touchdown pass in 13 straight ball games. And the Denver Broncos will be, along with the Chicago Bears, one of the 2 undefeated teams in the National Football League, as Washington lost today. And Chicago is 6-0, and the Broncos will be 6-0. And Denver will be traveling to the Big Apple. They'll be playing the New York Jets next Monday night, a week from tomorrow night, and the Jets won today. It should be a good contest. San Diego traveling to Kansas City, who lost to Cleveland. Gene Lang will lose a yard to the 30, and it's 3rd down and 8. As Leslie O'Neal makes the tackle. And what about the games in progress? Well, the Giants are winning big over the Eagles. Seattle still stays 4 behind the Raiders, and the Vikings have come behind to tie San Francisco at 24-24.
It's a difficult situation for a defensive team on the field like this with the score 31-7. But you know what keeps you going? The thought of losing your job. Because when they score 31 points against you, you know, the defensive coordinator is sitting up there saying, all right, if that doesn't work, we got to get rid of some players. So you play because you want to have a paycheck next week, and because you're a professional, and because you have a lot of pride in playing in this league. But it's a tough time when you're a defender.
Of the 3, pride, professional, and paycheck, I take paycheck.
Yeah, I guess so would I. And so would just about everybody else.
Tonight on NBC, again, it's Our House, Easy Street, Valerie, and Sunday night at the movie When the Bow Breaks. So be sure to stay with us tonight here on NBC. And next week, San Diego at Kansas City, and Denver at the New York Jets on Monday night. In the second half, and we talked about the second half, fact that in the previous second half for the last 4 ball games in 25 possessions, San Diego had only 2 field goals. They had 14 turnovers, 7 punts, and they'd run out 2 series. Well, they've had 4 possessions in the second half of this ball game. Twice they have punted, twice they have been intercepted.
And it has to be so frustrating. What has happened to their offense? You saw today, Dan Fouts threw the ball very well,
yes,
but they still have not been able to put any points on the board. It's the biggest mystery in the NFL, how this team, the Chargers, have scored more points for more yards in Don Carriel's career than any team in the NFL, has just fallen completely apart.
Vance Johnson pulling in the pass of Gary Kubiak. This is Kubiak's second game. He appeared in the Philadelphia game, which the Broncos won big, and he completed 7 of 11. Kevin Wyatt makes the tackle here.
And you might ask, why are they throwing the football under these circumstances? Well, you want to get Kubiak some opportunity to get a little bit of experience under his belt. You never know what might happen to John Elway, especially the way he scrambles and runs around with the football. So it's important that Kubiak gets some throws in. So if you're sitting there as a San Diego fan saying, hey, wait a minute, don't rub it in, you got to think of the idea of Dan Reeves is to get his backup quarterback some experience.
Today's telecast, presented by authority of the National Football League, intended for the private use of our audience. Any rebroadcast or other use of this telecast without the express written consent of the San Diego Chargers and the National Football League is prohibited. The Chargers using their second timeout. They have 1 timeout remaining. Denver has 3 timeouts remaining. And when play resumes, Jack Wheel will be kicking to Lionel James. The punter from Wyoming has a shoe size, and I mention this because you think of Thunderfoot. His shoe size is 7.5. You don't think of a punter with a small foot.
No, you usually don't. And he's been punting like a punter with a small foot so far this year. Just about a 40-yard average thus far. And I don't mean to get down on it because they showed him some confidence this week because they brought in a couple of punters. They brought in Norman, who was their punter prior to Will, and they brought in Jim Arnold, who was a fine punter for years in this league. But they decided that Will was the guy they were going to go with. They made the commitment to him. And that probably boosted his confidence a little bit after they left. They said, no, we're going to keep you. Arnold's gone and Norman's gone. You're our punter right now.
High snap. He gets it off. James slips, steps away from it. He lost his footing, and that cost any kind of return in 12 yards on the roll. So it ends up to be a 49-yard kick. We've got a timeout. San Diego has the ball. We'll be back in just a moment. We come back as play has already resumed. The Chargers have run 2 offensive plays. Both were passes. Both were incomplete. So it is 3rd down and 10 for San Diego at their own 15-yard line, a mile high, even at sea level. And that is true today. We did get a shot of it. There was a sign around it that said Jimmy Cefalo for vice president.
It did?
Yes.
Yeah, always second banana. Story of my life.
3rd down and 10. And there's jumping on the right side of the Charger offensive line. I believe that was Gary Kowalski. And as Jimmy pointed out earlier, any movement, it's automatic.
Full start, 68 offense, 5-yard penalty, still third down.
It'll be third down and 15. San Diego has the ball at their own 10-yard line with 3 minutes and 40 seconds left to go. And the very quiet sellout crowd here at San Diego Jack Murphy Stadium, most of them have headed for home. Bounce over the middle. The pass is complete to Holohan. Pete is decked as soon as he caught. He's the good hands man. He has excellent hands. And he was just simply dropped. It'll be fourth down and a couple. They'll go for it. Why not? I mean, you're trailing 31-7. Let's see if you can get anything going.
You might as well. Foley with quite a hit that time. He's the good hit man on that play.
And Lionel James picks up the first down as he goes to the 30-yard line. So it's a first down for San Diego on their own 30-yard line. Now with 3:06 and counting, time remaining, Freddie Gilbert making the last tackle for the Broncos. And the Chargers still in that hurry-up offense. Far side, it is Wes Chandler, and he is out of bounds to stop the clock at the 35-yard line. So it's second down and 5. This is the 5th possession of the Chargers in the second half. 2 of their previous possessions ended in punts, and 2 of them ended in interceptions.
You live in this area,
Yes.
and you've watched the Chargers as much as anyone. What is wrong with them? I mean, they talk about Dan Fouts being long in the tooth. He doesn't seem to be to me.
I thought it was the fact that they tried a running game and nobody knew how to do a running game, and they were going to come out throwing. But that's what they've seen today. What we've seen today is vintage Chargers. Here it is again. It's Pete Holohan to the 35-yard line of Denver. A gain of 29 yards on the play and a first down. But we've seen it, but we haven't seen enough of it. And we haven't seen a defense that's given them any kind of an opportunity.
Well, that's part of it, I think. I don't think their defense has been taking the football away from other people. Plus, their lack of speed has been a problem.
Yes. And here is Holohan headed for the sideline to stop the clock. Now, there's something else. Maybe the defense. Now, you're going to like this. Listen closely.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. The offense has been productive today. I mean, they've looked good. They've looked like the offensive O for San Diego.
Right.
Now, the defense has been on the field a long time. Because Denver had one drive that took 11 minutes.
Right.
The previous defense was so bad, they'd drive for the touchdown in 2 minutes, and the offense would get on the field quicker. And the offense always said that we'll get back on because we can score points.
Oh, I see. So it's because they have a better defense. They're losing. It's a good approach.
Not, you know.
It sounds like a San Diego approach to it.
You asked? Fouts with pressure, and he is going to be sacked for the 5th time in the ball game. Mecklenburg and Rulon Jones will split this one, so they'll end up with a sack apiece in the ball game. And the Denver Broncos have 5 sacks.
And it's tough because they're just going to tee off. It's easy for Mecklenburg and Rulon Jones. They're not going to run the football. They just tee off on the offensive lineman and run a not very quick-footed Fouts down.
Third down. Lionel James, 25, 20, 15, and he's out of bounds to stop the clock at the 13-yard line. Now let's check the games in progress. The Giants way out in front of Philadelphia by 25. Raiders still lead by 4 over Seattle in the 4th, and Minnesota and San Francisco are still tied. And here Denver continues to dominate by a score of 31-7 with 2 minutes and 15 seconds left to go in the ball game.
Now this could be an important drive for San Diego, not as far as this game is concerned, obviously with 31-7. But for their future, the second half, they have not scored in four football games. It's important for them to break that thing for next week to say, well, we've gotten rid of that monkey. Let's go ahead from here.
Here comes the blitz. The pass is complete to Kellen Winslow. Kellen has it at the 6-yard line and is down at that point. They may give it the 5. Mike Harden made the initial defensive hit for the Denver Broncos, and we now have the 2-minute warning. We've got 2 minutes left to go in the ball game. We've got a timeout, and we'll be back in a moment. We saw the Denver broadcasters in the middle in the dark. That's Ted Leitner, who is the San Diego play-by-play broadcaster. He is only in his 2nd year. He's a legend in town, though. He's been here several years. He shows the hockey highlights. He shows the fights.
Not a hockey fan.
Not a hockey fan. Yeah, good man, though. Good broadcaster and a nice guy. Fouts thus far has completed 25 of 39 passes. Now that's 64%. He's thrown for 351 yards and 1 touchdown. He has had 2 interceptions.
Yeah, but that's good enough to win the football game. The problem, obviously, is that the defense of the Chargers have allowed the Broncos to control the football game, thus controlling the entire game. But getting back to it, all right, the Chargers do not have a great deal of speed at their wide receiver positions or at their running back. After you take an Anderson away, their speed is just normal as far as NFL standards are concerned. But it still is the biggest mystery to me is why they have just shut down completely in the second half.
Little swing pass to Lionel James. He spins away. He gets to the 3-yard line. And that's going to be, it'll be close to the first down. Let's see where they mark it. Steve Wilson makes a defensive play for the Broncos. And he may want to bring the chains out. But I think it's so important for them to score a touchdown here, going back to what you say. Now they can go in and say, okay, that monkey's off our back. Let's work. We've got 4 other monkeys we got to work on.
Yeah, they got a lot of them, right. But you're right. They've played very well in the first quarter this far this season. They did it again today, but have simply self-destructed in the second half. And I got to tell you, usually that goes back to coaching. That usually does.
Why is that?
Because it's his job to motivate a team. Yeah. And I got to think they've got enough personnel out here. It cannot be Coach Coryell's philosophy, because he certainly has a great offensive philosophy, maybe the best that's ever been around this game. But I think it's a coach's job to motivate a team. They love him, by the way. They love Don Coryell.
He's a neat man.
But he really is. But for some reason, it's a motivational factor. It has to be. They've got the ability. They got the talent. They have the philosophy. It's motivation. Now you might say, hey, a professional football player is getting paid enough money. He doesn't need to be motivated. And that is true as well. So you got to look to the coaching staff to say you got to do something to motivate him, but you're also going to look to the players and say, hey,
you got to motivate yourself too.
Take some pride in this whole deal.
3rd down and 1. The ball at the 3-yard line. There's a little pushing contest in the end zone, and we've got a flag down. Kellen Winslow and Mark Haynes. The clock is stopped with 1:33 left to go in the game. And here's the word from Gene Barth.
We have offsetting fouls. We have offensive pass interference against number 80, and defensive holding against 36. We're going to replay the down.
Kellen Winslow and Mark Haynes going against each other. It's a draw, and we'll do it again.
Yeah, that is a draw. Let's take a look at it. There you see Kellen pushing it a little bit, and a little bit of a hold by Mark Haynes, but I don't know. I think it's got to be one or the other, doesn't it? To me, if I was a receiver, I always thought, wait a minute.
Well, as a receiver, it was always their fault.
Yeah, but look, if you're holding me and you're defensive back, I'm going to try to push your hand away, right?
No, that's true.
So that's where it comes about from, I think. Or the opposite is true. You got to push going on. Don't push me away, and he grabs him by the shoulder pads. But I think the call has to go one way or the other. That's a no decision there.
Off of the right side and into the end zone is Buford McGee. From 3 yards out, the cannon explodes. Buford McGee has his 6th touchdown of the year, his first of the game, and San Diego has scored for the touchdown for the first time in the second half since the opener against Miami.
And I was here in the booth for that Miami game, and they looked like world beaters that day.
Yeah.
Scoring 50 points, but, again, the Dolphin defense is nothing to stand up and spit quarters about, that's for certain. But here in San Diego, the drought is finally over, and at least Buford McGee and the rest of the Chargers can look and say, you're right, the monkey is gone. Now let's just try to regroup and go on from here. They've got no choice.
And they've just put together an 85-yard touchdown drive in 12 plays. And the extra point is good. And the score is 31 for the Denver Broncos and now 14 for the San Diego Chargers. And we'll be back with the kickoff. We have a final just in. It is Seattle 10 and the Los Angeles Raiders 14. So Seattle's record in the West is now 4-2. The Raiders in Kansas City are tied for 3rd at 3-3. San Diego will be 1-5. And the onside kick, and the Good Hands team pulls it down. This time it is Randy Robbins, and Denver has the ball. And Denver's record will be 6-0, and they will remain the top. A little bit of breathing space now because they'll have a 2-game bulge on the Seattle Seahawks.
It's also the first time they have gone 6-0 since the Super Bowl team of 1977. So maybe a good omen for the Denver Broncos.
In addition, they won their last 2 games of last year, so they won their last 8 in a row. An injured player, and we've got an injury timeout. Let's go back to Buford McGee's touchdown.
Right, the touchdown that ends the drought, just a quick running play. Number 43, Tim Spencer, another person we have not called his number very often today, but a nice block to lead McGee through the hole and into the end zone.
Randy Robbins as the player is shaken up, and he is coming off. Now for an update, let's go to New York City and Bob Costas. Bob?
Charlie, thank you. In a game that will become part of baseball lore, the Boston Red Sox have staved off elimination in the American League playoffs. They send it back to Fenway by beating the Angels today in Anaheim 7-6-11. They entered the ninth trailing 5-2. Don Baylor's two-run homer cut it to 5-4. Then with 2 outs and 2 strikes on Dave Henderson, he drives another 2-run homer into the seats, and watch him react. Red Sox led 6-5. Angels tied it with a run in the bottom of the ninth, and the Red Sox won it in the 11th. Let's go back to Charlie.
Thank you, Bob. The league championship series all seeming to end up with home runs. That being the deciding factor, which in reality just sets the scene for NBC's coverage of the World Series starting next Saturday. So be sure to be with us. And here's Ken Bell, the free agent out of Boston College, speaking of the Red Sox. And he goes to the 35-yard line. He'll pick up the first down. And he has a total of 12 yards on that play.
Who do you like for the series, Charlie?
I'm looking for the promo is what I'm looking for. Let's see. Who do I want in?
No, that's an unfair question.
No. I'll tell you.
Okay, all right.
I like California
Boston,
Angels, probably
well,
because of Gene Autry and what he's done.
And because you live real close.
Yeah, but that's part of it. That's part of it.
All right.
And in Houston.
Houston.
I like Houston. I don't think they're going to make it, but I like it.
But you like it quite.
Yeah.
All right, we'll see how you do.
Somebody said, how can, they don't like the Mets because they're arrogant. I said, well, if you win 108 games, you can be arrogant. Here's Ken Bell again. And he is pushed back. Billy Ray Smith for the defense to look at the clock, 33 and counting. And now let's look at the scores of the games in progress. In the fourth quarter, the Giants big over Philadelphia. That's now final, as we mentioned. The Raiders winning over Seattle, and Minnesota and San Francisco look as if they are headed for overtime. And here we're not going to have any overtime, but we will have the undefeated Denver Broncos downing the San Diego Chargers by a score of 31-14. So Denver's record is now 6-0. We're just a couple of seconds away from it being official. And it certainly is official for the Denver Broncos as they defeat San Diego 31-14. The most valuable player, John Elway, completing 20 of 34 passes. He threw for 242 yards, 1 touchdown and 1 interception, and he kept his team on the field. There is no question about that, and Budweiser will make a contribution to United Way on behalf of all the MVPs selected throughout this season as we honor the most valuable players, sponsored by Budweiser. So an interesting game. I thought San Diego had a shot, but in reality they didn't.
No, John Elway and the Bronco offense just kept the ball